Fair warning, I didn't restart my computer this morning either, so.
Does that mean it's going to crash again?
It could.
So
I could get my clone.
I could sing some Valentine's tunes by myself and the computer fucking shits itself.
Hey.
That was awkward. That was awkward that day when that happened, to be honest.
I know, yeah. I'm recording, by the way. It made me realize, like, I can't do the Facebook Lives by myself anymore because that's just fucking awkward.
I'll look around. Okay. No, that was something though when that happened that one day. I didn't realize how awkward it was. It was the day I was sitting by my garage.
Yep.
I was like, so I guess I'm alone now.
Yeah, and then I remember when
it's like that Tiffany song.
And then when I was the one that was alone, I was like, and I'd done like how many Facebook Lives on my own by that point, and for the first time ever, I was like, oh my god.
Oh yeah.
I wanted my Triceratops.
Oh, good. That's glad that mental disease is still there. Hey, Gabe. Hey, Jacob. Hey, Gabe. Got your email. Responded to it. So, yeah, definitely. That's definitely a go. So fire that over. Okay?
Yeah, Gabe. That would be awesome. And we won't tell anybody what it is right now. Secret.
Yeah. What's up, David? What's up, Frail? Look who's finally back. Ben Frail.
Hey,
Where
Jacob.
You been?
Hey, Allie K. Hey, Allie K. The shirt I was wearing yesterday, I'm pretty sure I got it from $5 t-shirts. But if you Google like Abraham Lincoln Batman, it should come up. He commented on my shirt yesterday. Hey, Allie B.
Hey, what's up, Wayne? What's up, Ryan Demond across the bay?
Hey, Ryan. Hey, Ryan, I'm not trying to start like shit with England again, but I'll be honest. I don't have any interest in the royal family, and I don't understand what my country's obsession is with it. I really don't.
Right, Tennessee. Tennessee is a good state, I will say.
I love Tennessee.
A friend of mine, hey David, a friend of mine just moved down there. Woman I used to work with, she lives down not far between like Nashville and Knoxville, or wherever the hell. But she loves it.
I've always loved Tennessee's always felt like home to me. Like I love the mountains and stuff. And hello to Mark from near Gettysburg, who's also watching too.
Oh yeah. Oh hey Mark.
He's one of Jacob wants to know about your shirt yesterday, your theater shirt, where you got it.
I bought it online somewhere. Don't want to link it with the sunglasses.
Yeah.
That was I'm not sure where I got that. I think I bought that on Redbubble, I think. Not RedTube, by the way, Redbubble. Jacob, go on RedTube. Okay, look at that first. Then when you get done on that, go on Redbubble and you can probably find it. So there you go. Then happy Valentine's Day, by the way.
According to Ryan.
I'm pretty sure I got that on I'm pretty sure honest to God, I got that. No, you know where I got that? I got that on Amazon. That's where I got it. It was on Amazon. Do Lincoln t-shirts on Amazon, you'll find it.
So about Tennessee, like my family and I, we used to drive down to Florida all the time because my grandparents had a house. And whenever we went through Tennessee, I loved it. And I always said, can we please stay? And they're like, no, we have to get to Florida. Torture was driving by Kennesaw Mountain and always wanting my dad to like take the exit because I just wanted to go explore. But I remember when I drove down to Chattanooga a few years ago with one of my friends, like what are you giggling about now?
Jacob's comment.
What did Jacob say?
Headphones are definitely your friend, Jacob. I'll tell you, especially at work.
Yeah. So anyway, I remember like driving down there. It was my second time going with one of my friends, and they're like, what's all these mountains? And I'm like, oh, that's Raccoon Mountain, that's Lookout Mountain, and that's where Tunnel Hill's over there, and that's where Claiborne was. And then I was staying at this Airbnb, which was on Missionary Ridge. So I was talking to the owners about it. And I'm like, so this is Missionary Ridge? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, you do know Claiborne was here, right? I was getting all excited about it.
Shocker. What's up, Leonard? That's not Tennessee's cool though. I've never been to Shiloh. I have to go to Shiloh one of these days, but I've been to Nashville. Well, allegedly. I don't remember much about it, but I know I was there.
There will be a Civil War Breakfast Club road trip to Shiloh, I think, at some point.
That'd be cool. Hey Mark, yeah, happy early Valentine's Day. Yeah.
Yeah. So happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Cool. Yeah, Mark says he's checking in under a different account. Got to get my own Facebook. We know who you are, Mark. When I see Renee pop up, I know it's you.
I don't think we're going to be seeing old Andrea today, by the way, Mary.
No, she just messaged me and asked if we're going live.
Oh, so really?
I let her know. Yeah.
So she's
Ryan
off the
said,
mat. Wow.
We have no interest in the royals until people try to get rid of them. Then we wake up Charles the First and James the Third. We Irish know how to back the royal winners. But I once suggested one time when I worked retail, I was like, we got all these royal magazines in, and I said to somebody, I don't understand the obsession with royalty. And this customer pipes up, you do realize she's your queen, right? And I was like, okay.
Definitely. Hey, Mike, Arlington, Virginia. Well, that's a cool little place down there. Traffic sucks, but it's a good place.
Yeah.
I was down there a couple of years ago, Mike. Down by Tyson's Corner, not far from there. So that was pretty cool. That's a nice area down there. I love the DC area.
I do too. It's an awesome place. The first time I went to DC was with my father and my uncle and all my cousins. And my dad is, he's about as good at Sherman as is reading maps. So we pulled a little bit of a Missionary Ridge and had no idea where we were going. And we got lost in the bad section of DC. And my dad's like, lock the doors and get down.
Roll them up. It's like the vacation movie.
And then he flipped some guy the bird. And my mom was like, you're gonna get us all killed. It was really interesting.
Oh yeah, it's much more fun than Canadians in the mean streets of DC.
Yeah. But we got to where we needed to be an hour after we were supposed to be there. So.
Oh, okay. Cool. Very cool. Very cool.
Yep.
Yeah. So Valentine's Day is definitely a hallmark holiday, right? That was kind of the whole point of the episode, Mary. Jake segued us perfectly into the episode.
Yeah. No. Good. Yeah. No. It was what I don't know if you found this too, but what I found interesting in doing the research was just the commercialization that went into it. Like people say they're like Valentine's Day has become so commercialized. It's always been that way. Like you have newspapers running these ads for these Valentine's Day packets for women to send their men, that are fighting the Civil War. And they're right next to a casualty list of men who have been killed.
Well, the marketing is unbelievable. I remember there was a newspaper I saw. I don't know if it was in a museum or maybe it was online, but there was a newspaper out of like Charleston, South Carolina, probably the Mercury. And it was a big ad for some furniture company. It said, Sumter fell and so have our prices. And it was like April 20th, 1860. I was like, holy shit. So all of the marketing was going on back then. And what was interesting about this Valentine's Day episode was all that stuff was going on way back then. Really nothing's changed. I mean, but I think people need to get out of that mindset of like that this thing happened a long time ago. It didn't. It really didn't.
No, it was very much still a holiday. Hey Jim, good morning. Hi Liza.
Hey Liza. But it is funny though. Like you talk about how like they would advertising liver pills on Culp's Hill and those rocks. And it's the same people. People are going to try to make a buck any way they can.
Oh, exactly.
The Valentine's Day, old Esther Howland married the chick from Worcester there. She from Mount Holyoke. She banked. She's the mother of American Valentine's Day cards.
Speaking of enunciated,
ironically looking at her, I'm not sure how many she got. Okay, I'm just going to tell you, but she certainly got paid. There's no doubt about it. So
enunciation is key, as I've learned. I thought you said banged.
Well, maybe. And you should mention money. I don't know. Probably it's Worcester. Anybody who's been to Worcester probably knows. It's probably a Worcester 7 anyway.
Is it Mike's is getting lost in dodgy sections of DC is a rite of passage. Then I had my rite of passage at the age of 10.
Hey Eric, how are you?
Hey Eric.
Eric, for those folks jumping on right now, Eric is the author of Black Iron Mercy, who will be
nice surprise.
So good to see him. We'll be talking about his book first on the book club next month. So Eric, welcome. Yeah. Thanks for signing on.
Yeah, I am really. I have to say, I'm really enjoying it a lot. It is very it's just I get so immersed in it when I read it, and it's a lot like the Shara novels. Like it plays out in my head like a movie, and I can see all the characters and all this other stuff. It's just so. It's a really great book.
Well, I remember when I first read Black Iron Mercy, it was a couple of years ago, and I'm not sure. And the funny part about it is, I look back, I'm trying to remember where I got enabled on it, but when I read it, it was just amazing. It was just the whole storylines with Arliss and Violet and the family. We'll talk about this in the book club, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But then how the history is so tight on it,
It is.
And it just comes together. So I'm glad I know a lot of people have bought the book because a lot of people comment on it. So
Yep.
I'm glad because I that's one of my faves. I think it's a great novel. So good job, Eric. Fantastic. Thanks
Yeah,
for
no,
jumping
it's
on.
a great, great read. It's good to see you on here too. Hey, Amelia. Alibi, every century needs their cringy and cheesy Valentine's Day cards. Oh my God. I worked retail for 20 years and I eventually got to a point where I was one of the ones that was unpacking and putting out the Valentine's Day cards and I would read them. And the other thing that happened too is I got covered in glitter. And let me tell you, glitter is the herpes of the craft world. If you have one on you, there will be 50.
Wow, with those comments, you should be writing for Hallmark. You're right about the glitter, though.
It was like so near the end of my time working retail, one of my quote unquote hazing rituals for newbies was to make them unpack Christmas cards.
Well, that's when you get the cards, you got to open them like this. First, see if there's any money in it, right?
Yeah.
More importantly, and then second, make sure there's no glitter in it. You know what I mean?
No, the glitter was. And at one time I was at my friend's place, and when her daughter Chloe was like 6 years old, she dumped glitter all over my arm.
Yeah. And Ben, speaking of glitter, you go to those bars in Worcester that I know you go to. You got to make sure you shower first because you be glitter on your clothes. Telling you. So fair warning.
Eric just said there's definitely been a resurgence in Amazon sales thanks to you. Oh, you're very welcome, Eric. We just like
Eric, it's our pleasure, man. I've been booking Able on that forever, and
yeah, me too.
There's a woman a couple of years ago who she's a writer out of Texas named Sharon Williams, and she writes. And so I got her on your book, Eric, and she read it. She left you a real nice review on Amazon. Yeah. And she reviewed it, and a lot of people bought it. So hopefully you're getting a bump in the sales. Hopefully it looks like you are. So
yeah, I've recommended it to I've recommended it to people here in Canada because I work in a library and like also the DQ apparently, according to Darren. I'm sorry, I work at the DQ.
I don't know where that came from.
Drive up, fucker.
Yeah, Ben. Sorry I dropped time on you, but it's funny. And so we did the whole Valentine's Day episode of this podcast. It was kind of enlightening in a way, because there's no battle to study. There's really no factual names. There's little things here and there. There's a couple of stories we read about. You did the one about Claiborne and about Reynolds, and I did one about that James Love guy. Joseph Morris, the Calvert guy. So there are some good stories about it. But I think what was fascinating for me was just how the similarities are and that things really haven't changed, and how it was similar but also different from the Christmas one, right?
Yeah. The Christmas was a very somber one, and this one was more so, like you said, like just it's about like your paramour, whatever, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever.
I love the word paramour. Good band, by the way, Paramore.
I love Paramore.
Haley Williams. There you go.
Yeah, right, I love Paramore. Paramore's awesome. Excuse you, what about the Battle of Love?
The Battle of Love. We talking about AP Hill already? We talking about that?
Like AP Hill. I think Leonard made a comment that AP Hill had herpes or glitter because it's the herpes of the craft world.
Oh yeah. He definitely spent a lot of time at AP Hill. Should be called AC Moore then, right? If you think about
it. So Andrea posted a thing. She's under the name Bennett Pike right now. A best early 1900s Valentines. Yeah, there's some pretty hilarious ones. The vinegar Valentines are the best. I found some really hilarious ones.
Yeah, that was pretty good. And it was fun. We had a lot of fun, obviously, writing those dating profiles too, and making those pictures last night was a lot of fun for those for the dating profiles.
That was something that we came up with together because we were kind of debating. I asked you. I said, well, do we have I said we've got our preview picture, which is Howard as Cupid and the Bang Barn, but what are we going to do for tomorrow? And we were kind of debating it, so we both decided, like, why not something where you could swipe to the right, Yeah,
that just came out of nowhere. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. And we came up with that idea drinking not alcohol.
No, it's just
because we're not drinking right now.
Nope. We're doing the dry February thing, which is quite enlightening. So here we go. No treehouse today.
Yep. I made my cold brew iced tea last night. This is country lemonade that I'm drinking.
Oh, very good. Very good.
It's very good.
Now we could have made a lot more of those though. We could have made more. We just limited it to 3 for the podcast, and I think I made 4 of the pictures last night. But
Yeah, no,
it
4
was-
is like, because 4 is all you can have on Twitter. Like Instagram, I
that's
think
right.
you can
You
have up to
said that,
10.
yeah.
So there's no point in making any more at all. Ryan said, and he tweeted about this earlier. He said, I have another Bushmills Civil War connection for you today after the podcast. When James Bullock and Liverpool pilot George Bond sailed a newly built ship, Enrica, from Liverpool to the Giant's Causeway off Northern Ireland, 31st July 1862, local fishermen took Bullock and Bond off the ship to Bushmills, where they stayed in the Mill House Hotel, drinking local Coleraine whiskey before sailing back to England. That's cool. The Enrica sailed to Azores, where she was renamed the CSS Alabama.
Jim, just so you know, I was this close to doing a grinder one. This close.
should have.
I know. I just didn't know how that was gonna fly. So
It's us. I mean, you're talking about, we had a discussion about RedTube becoming RebTube on here when you
I
were
know,
like, yeah, we're going
I
to
know.
sell our merch on RedTube. And I'm like, what merch are we selling?
well, I wanted to keep it to one of the 4 people we were
Yeah.
one of the 6 we did. So I was all set to do it. I had an idea in my head and I just like this. Nah, screw it. Maybe I'll do a free mental one for that one of these days.
Mike said that dry February makes more sense than dry January or any other month, even on leap years. It does.
Well, someone asked about the dry February thing. It was most of my work friends here were doing dry January. I guess that's the big thing. And I traditionally don't do that because that's during the NFL playoffs. And usually my Patriots are always hosting playoff games and I go tailgate. And so I just didn't want to do that. And so February seemed like a straight month. So,
No. And you didn't really ask me, but when you said you were doing it, I was like, okay, well, I'll do it
you were
too.
cool about it. You're like, I'll do it. You'll support. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
well,
actually
well, I
doing
mean,
it.
I'm gonna
I have
support.
my suspicions at times. Yeah.
We'll see who fucking breaks first.
You know,
You're the
slur
first.
words. Yeah.
You're the first core, and I'm the 11th core, and we all know how that went.
Yeah, I'm not going to brag. I'll tell you right now.
Well, I guess technically you're the 11th core right now with your shirt. So.
Yeah, there you go. But no, but it was good. It was funny how we were talking specifically about that Reynolds story, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what I think a lot of people know about John Reynolds, and primarily, and Kate Hewitt was somebody who is still kind of clogged in mystery a little bit, right?
Yeah, but
As far as that whole thing goes.
Yeah, but it was actually, I meant to tell him thank you when we recorded the podcast, but it was actually our listener, Chris Conforti, who sent me that video after we did a Facebook Live one day, and I had said how Kate never married, and then he said, wait, there's new evidence, here's the video for it. And there's the video from the Civil War Museum with Wayne Motts hosting it, but he's talking to a licensed battlefield guide, and they're talking about how they discovered that this Kate Hewitt that was buried in Stillwater, New York, was not Reynolds Kate Hewitt. The Kate Hewitt in Albany, who ended up getting married, is Reynolds Kate Hewitt.
It's funny because as I spent some time researching her, and they were talking about the one who died in 1902, which is a different one. So Kate 2.0, fake Kate.
Yeah, the one in Stillwater, New York.
And she's buried with that octagon, gravestone. No photo comments allowed. I assume you mean on this. I don't know. Do you not talk to Mare on that one? She's a technical one on this one. They don't. You don't allow photo comments on the. Maybe it's a Facebook thing. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. I think I have comments enabled. I thought I did. Maybe not.
No, I don't know.
I'll have to look into that, John. Andrea, God.
Good old Andrea.
Wow.
Good to see she's feeling well mentally anyway.
Yeah. Leonard can't go that long without a swig and Goddard if the rumors are true. Leonard, it depends who you hang out with.
What are you pointing at?
You.
You're pointing the wrong direction.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. There
we go. I don't know. Maybe you are. I don't know how this thing's set up, but I thought you were pointing at your stupid stuffed animals again. Mm-hmm.
Sherman is not stupid.
Okay, I hope that clears up. Good luck with that. Facebook doesn't allow photo. Yeah, that must be the deal. No, we got a lot of fun with that. I mean, the chances of Valentine, you flank my heart. You can say my heart doesn't run.
I was going to say Howard's Valentine. My heart runs for you, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
I'll run faster to you than I did from Chancellorsville.
yeah, she is pointing in the right direction. It was funny. Haha. Okay. Allie. Hey, Allie, thanks for your Gophers for beating Notre Dame last night, by the way. I appreciate, can't say I didn't appreciate that. Anytime Notre Dame loses at anything, I'm happy about that. So cheers to that.
I
Um,
watched the Bruins last night.
yeah, the
They
Bruins
can't
won.
win.
And
Yeah, I
Boston
had to
College
I
won.
got a subscription to NHL Live because they don't carry the, like, my sports
Mhm.
channels here suck. So I want to watch
No.
the Bruins game and I hate the fucking Maple Leafs. So
At least they're good this year.
I really
But
don't care if they're good.
yeah, I know. But I know you enjoyed talking about Claiborne
Yeah, I did.
on
I
your
love telling that
things.
story. That
And
and his
that's a good
shitty
story.
poetry. His shitty poetry as well.
Well, he got enamored with her pretty quickly, right? I mean,
Oh,
you know,
well, the reason that I liked the story is because he has such a reputation of being this, like, the typical soldier, right? Like, I think he was very, apparently he was a bit moody and bitchy, which
mhm.
no wonder I like him.
This is my shock face. Mhm.
Fucker. Anyway, so, but the thing I enjoyed about his story was that when he came back to camp after becoming quite enamored with her, falling in love with her, what have you, everybody in the camp noticed a change in him, and those closest to him, like Mangum and Buck, who saw some of these letters he was writing, said that they saw a side to him they didn't know existed. They saw this guy who was very romantic and passionate and had truly fallen in love with somebody. That's why the story is so interesting, because again, you and I are about humanizing these people, and I thought, what more human story is there than this one about Claiborne, where he's this guy that is apparently pretty serious most of the time. Now, the interesting thing, the thing I realized, actually, I realized this at 3 o'clock this morning when I was thinking about the podcast, um, is that, so he falls in love with her in January of 1864. And I believe it was March of 1864 where Johnston had organized that snowball fight. And apparently Claiborne was one of the ones that had the most fun with it. And you've got to wonder if it's because of how he was feeling about her that brought out this different side of him that the men had never seen before in him.
No, it's definitely a side of him that he probably didn't even know yet. It's just kind of one of those things that popped out. But he's definitely different, and it makes that whole, you had that story. Then of course he gets killed at Franklin in '64. That's sad, and then you talk about Reynolds and talking about how they were going to get engaged on July 8th, and you were bringing all the happy stories this time.
I always do. I bring the happiness.
Do
so positive, happy people do.
But my story was one of
yours was awesome.
Happiness. It was a happiness.
Yours was really awesome, and I like that you didn't tell me what you were going to talk about. So me listening to that was me hearing it for the first time.
Yeah, it's just a neat story. So, this guy, they're both from Ireland. We talked about Bushmills earlier, from that neck of the woods.
That's where
whiskey
it came
up there.
up with.
James Love and old Molly Wilson. They get to, they come from Ireland nearby. They go to St. Louis of all places. Must have been big Cardinals fans, Mary. And they meet and fall in love, and and then he goes off to war, and he fights in Missouri, and and read a lot of his notes, and he was not the he hated Don Buell, loved Rosecrans, was kind of a hard capital R racist, but was fighting for the Union because and he disappears. He goes to Libby prison, gets caught, and she thinks that he dies, and he just literally stops sending messages, and literally he shows up on her front door. He escapes and goes home and finds, just kind of like a movie. So that was a good story.
No, it was a really good story.
They live happily ever after, as they say. Yeah. Who knows what happens after that? He probably turned into some psychotic, whatever, but it's all whatever.
Well, the thing everybody knows about Grant and Julia and all that. And I kind of wanted to tell stories that, I knew I wanted to talk about Reynolds and Kate, but then I was debating between McPherson and his fiance and Claiborne and Tarleton. And Claiborne was the one that kind of was like, okay, this is one where we know that, the men were able to see a different side to him that we might never have seen before. Unfortunately, their letters don't exist, and who the fuck knows what happened to them. They'll probably be found in some attic somewhere someday.
No. Leonard's taken off. He's got to go.
Hey, Leonard, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, well, good luck with that storm in Vicksburg. Geez, that stinks,
Allie B was listening to the poetry, Claiborne's poetry in the car, and she said she cringed. Oh, I cringed. I read it too. It was so bad.
She seems to cringe at everything. She cringed at all those pictures too. She must be one of those cringy people, Allie.
Allie K says, Mayor, we are the opposite. We get NHL TV just for the lease for my husband. I'm glad we're balancing out that Canadian American thing.
Hey, Allie K, I was going to ask you, the picture you posted with Lincoln yesterday, I couldn't help noticing you had a Minnesota Duluth shirt on. So I've never seen anybody, a Gopher fan, post with a Duluth shirt. I was just curious where that came from. That's like me wearing a BU shirt. I was just surprised to see that. So good picture though.
Mm-hmm.
Good picture. Heard all about my Lincoln pictures. That was a good time, And the rest of the stuff here. But
Jacob said AP Hill McClellan could have been a Hallmark movie. Andrew said poor McPherson, Sherman wouldn't give him leave to go marry his lady. Yeah, and Andrea, that's what happened to Claiborne as well. Claiborne, probably soon after the Atlanta campaign had wrapped up, so just like McPherson, Claiborne went to John Bell Hood and he said, I would like leave. I would like to go have the chance to marry Sue. And Hood said, no, I need you here. Just like Sherman said to McPherson, I need you here. And and Sherman regretted that for the rest of his life. And I wonder if Hood did as well, for denying him that opportunity, because like right after that, like for whatever reason, Hood feels the need to keep him around, and Claiborne, I think, just wanted the 2 weeks that he'd taken before. He took 2 weeks in January and then 2 weeks in February. And that was the last time he saw her. And I think he was sure he would get it after what they had done in that campaign. Because keep in mind, he's fought hard at Kennesaw. They've had all the battles surrounding Atlanta, and the army needed to rest. And that was the sad part of the story too, is just being denied, the chance to go do that like McPherson was.
Well, he was probably, I think the fact that he was ranked too high is what doomed him. We were told that story about that Rhode Islander, Elijah Hunt Rhodes. He basically went to his commander and said what he told him was his mother was sick, or he missed his mother, and he got a furlough. I wonder if that was real or what the story was. But Claiborne should have said his mother was sick.
Yeah,
didn't work out.
Except I don't know. Well, his mom was living up north at that time too, so I don't know how would he would have had to cross enemy lines, right? His mom was.
I don't think he was. I'm not saying, but he would have made up a story to go with
that. I know. He's like, why are you going south?
Would have been like a diversion, like Hood at Little Round Top. He would have made a diversion at the girlfriend's house and would have stayed there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he would have had to go all the way down to Alabama.
He would have gone to the rise.
Amelia says, speaking of shitty poetry, Jeb Stuart.
I don't think I've enjoyed the Jed Stewart poetry. I don't think I read any of that.
I have to look that up now. Jim said we were getting ready for the latest ice apocalypse here in Middle Tennessee as well. You guys are getting like Canada weather, although we've got the Arctic vortex going through here right now, so it's fucking freezing.
The middle of the country gets the tough weather. When I was living down in Texas, we got ice storms. We would shut the whole freaking city down. It's ridiculous,
Oh yeah, I've driven in Tennessee when there's the threat of a snowstorm, and it is hilarious to see the people in buying bread and milk, and it's clear outside. It's like, what's going on? Is it really this bad?
But I was gonna say to you, Barry, how excited you must be around this time of year because of Lincoln's birthday, right? I mean, you usually make a cake and everything for Lincoln's birthday. You
didn't this year.
I mean, you must have had a tough time with old Jeremy over there. He must have been flipping out about the Lincoln birthday.
No, I didn't actually hear from him.
Really? You didn't even
no, I did not make a cake this year. I just did not. I don't know. I just didn't do my usual tradition.
Waiting for Love Poetry Week's rights. Hey Tim, you'll be seeing some love poetry from me if they get Jimmy Garoppolo back. The ship has sailed on Brady. I'll take Jimmy Garoppolo back any day. I've always loved Jimmy J. But yeah, ice storms are worse than snow. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. But yeah, but there's not a lot of things to learn and take from the from this episode. It's just a fun episode to do. It's kind of a laid back episode about that.
Well, I think
But
it's a
it was
way.
good to learn about it, you
I
know.
think it's a way of humanizing them too. Like you pick three different stories and you show like these aren't just soldiers fighting on a battlefield. You know, these are men that had thoughts, feelings, loved ones, missed out on aspects of life because they get killed. You know, and they're so do their fiancés. Like it's forever life changing for a lot of people. Like Sue dies a year after she marries that Confederate officer. You know,
Hmm.
and it's like I don't think I see it as her having moved on from Claiborne because she wears mourning for like a year after, and then she marries the officer, and you got to wonder if it was just out of, you know, just the sense of duty or whatever. But the fact she dies really, I like, is very telling as well. You know,
I think I wonder what old Lottie Moon did on Valentine's Day, Mary. Old Lottie Moon.
probably one of her 16 fiancés.
Yeah, she was the one. She was the one who was marrying Burnside, left him at the altar, and she ended up being engaged to 16. Maybe she did it just for the Valentines. Maybe she was
Maybe.
in cahoots with old Esther, right? You know,
Andrew, I'd like Grant move upon my works. You're welcome to them.
Grant, really?
Ryan said, it's weird to realize London is further north than the habitable zone of Canada. It is, which is weird.
Yeah, I knew she was a Grant person. I knew she was a Grant. You know, you know, it's pretty freaking funny though. But there are definitely some good stories though with this, and you know, there's a lot of stuff we're going to be getting back to the battlefield stuff with Donaldson next week and doing some stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we've got coming up. We've got Donaldson and Henry, and then we've got the Meridian campaign, and then we've got P Ridge as well. So those are our next 3 episodes.
Yeah, that'll be fun, and we'll be able to drink again for the P Ridge ones. The P Ridge will be legit. Will be more than one right there, you know. But no, I think it's sad though when you start to think about these things, and I know we do the what if thing, most of the consternation of some of your friends on the serious Facebook sites, Mary, that you're still a part
They're
of.
not my friends.
But you wonder like you know, Reynolds' death. I mean, you think about that, right? What it did to the army, the country, and that whole family, and her, and how history could have been different, you know.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is that people think instantly, you know, with McPherson dying, they think, oh my God, Sherman's lost a great commander and all that. But I think that to me, the bigger loss was to his fiance, and just the sad story of how he wanted to go marry her. You know, and Sherman was like, no, you can't. You know, I'm sorry, but I need you. And he regretted that for the rest of his life. So I think there's the army aspect, like from a military standpoint, what did this do? But what is it doing to the family and the fiancés, the girlfriends, and all that as well? But yeah, I think honestly, the greatest loss to, now I'm going off on a tangent. The greatest loss to the Western Theater was McPherson, and the greatest loss to the Eastern Theater was probably Reynolds.
Yeah.
I think those are the
David mentions the Wesley Culp, Jenny Wade story. We could have gone that one too. That's a good love story too. You know, that's definitely one of the sad ones. And all that. Is. But there's
Jacob's wondering when the second half of Carolinas is. It might end up actually being 3 parts because we're going to cover Bentonville in an episode in March, and then I think we're going to cover the surrender in April.
Ooh, you mean triplets?
Yes. And Amelia said, I was looking for some details on Jeb's saber holder patent and found poetry in a letter to a lady. Cringe. I posted to the Civil War Breakfast Club Facebook page a while back. Can't put it up a PDF here. I'll have to go look for that because that's hilarious.
Now, speaking of Jenny Wade, I did finally find Jack Skelly's grave. You know, the paramour of old Jenny Wade there. He's in Evergreen, not far from her, but it is kind of tough to find. But they take good care of it though. That Evergreen Cemetery, I know you and I both enjoy walking cemeteries, but that's a good one. It's just there's a lot of cool little places to go, You get everyone visits Burns, and they visit Jenny Wade, and they visit
Yeah.
James Geddes and the basic ones. But there's a lot of cool ones in there. And then that cemetery is cool because some of the gravestones have the battle damage from the artillery. Which is pretty
Wow,
cool.
that's really cool. Yeah, I need to explore there more next time we're in Gettysburg. And
They have all the Elizabeth Thorne graves where she buried. They're all in one little section.
yeah,
And they have that statue right there with that pregnant.
hmm
That's in and she's buried there too. You know who else is buried that I found his grave is Harry Fonz is buried, the writer. He's buried in there.
That's cool.
Found
I'd like
him.
to see his grave.
Yeah.
I was thinking I can't wait to read his books on Gettysburg. Really.
No, those are the best ones. They're really, really, really,
Yeah.
really, really detailed. I mean, they talk about, how these guys tied their shoes. I mean, it was a different level of not literally, but just, it really gets to a real deep level of in the weeds. Like that's not the book. If you're just starting into Gettysburg, you definitely don't read that one. That's not the starter.
No,
book,
I recommend Trudeau to people to start with. Trudeau, Sears, and then Fonz, because Trudeau and Sears have a very different way of telling the battle. And I find Sears at times to be a little bit biased, especially towards Howard. Doesn't stop me from reading him, but he does have a tendency to blame him for a lot of shit.
I'll tell you, I'm tempted, Mary, to think about getting COVID just to get the medicine that Andrea has today, because she's rolling. She's rolling in this thing. Yeah, my goodness gracious. Let's sit back and watch the comments. She's going.
Yeah, Custer. Yeah, I see
Custer. So that's a good one too. There's a lot of people like that though. There's a lot of egos in this thing. But she's doing funny. That just killing it.
No.
But I'm glad you're feeling better, Andrea. I know you're in a shitty situation over there, but I think motion to call witnesses on impeachment trial. Yeah, but no, I think it's I think it's interesting though. But I love the stuff though. It's we actually John, you mentioned the Sullivan Ballou letters. But I thought about that, but I think when we were looking for these stories, I think the one she wanted to do Reynolds and she wanted to do Claiborne. I just wanted to find a random one, and everyone knows the Sullivan Ballou letter, so I wanted to find a random one. But that's a great one. The Ballou letter. I mean, he had a real tough time. I mean, they when he got killed, they desecrated his body and all. That's a shitty to happen to him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was. Well, I want it make about making it human, right? So I mean, I guess I picked well-known stories, but there's so many of them. Those are the two I decided to pick. I'm glad you went with one that nobody had, I hadn't heard about it. Maybe others have, but it was a really.
What was neat was, I mentioned the podcast. What was neat about this is the St. Louis Post-Dispatch got these letters.
Yeah.
And they released. There was probably I assume there must have been about 10 letters. It probably wasn't too much.
Andrew said Lee and Travel, Jackson, Little Sorrel.
I heard about that.
Jackson and Little Sorrel.
Oh, no, Lee and Traveler.
Jackson and Sorrel.
I've read about that. That's probably the comment that got you banned off the Sirius site right there, Pike. But so Sullivan Ballou, he was a Rhode Island guy, and he got captured and he got killed, and they actually cut his body up. They mutilated his body, buried it. I don't know why they did it, but when they found his body, it was all over the place. They went off on him, and I'm not sure why. I read that. Where it's referenced to? It's referenced in the Elijah Rhodes diary. Because they're all Rhode Island people, so he mentions it. But I've heard about that too, so that's what it says. So pretty tough to do that. But I'm trying to think. Where was I going? I forgot I was going with this, but I don't know. Whatever. I forgot what I was going to say. That's what happens to do. That's what happens to lose when you get really old, Mary.
Like I am.
Of course, I didn't have Jurassic Park live action cards to hand away on my Valentine's.
I had a pet Velociraptor growing up. That's how old I am.
Yeah. But there were a lot of Civil War romances that certainly came up. And it's fun talking about the local guys. It is. There's a story about that Joseph Morris, the cavalry guy, with that Sylvania Bremont, and just stories about this. And it's fun reading the stuff, and you got to it's easy to read these and put yourselves in that situation, right? Yep. Of being completely just desolate, and being in a war situation had to have been difficult for them.
Well, I think they found ways though, I think if they had somebody that was lifting them up, it's like today, you can be in the worst possible situation, but if you have that one person, apparently Claiborne's, his joy for the last few months of his life was getting a letter from Sue. That that's really something. He told Mangum that, and he told Buck that, and they could see it. They could see whenever he got a letter from her, how he just was so happy. And I'm sure it was that way for a lot of people. It's like you can be in the shittiest situation possible, but if you have that one person that
Yeah.
brightens your day and makes you happy, that makes even like the worst of times the best, right? Like,
Well, it was probably like one of those situations where we talked before, but when we did the Booth episode, what Asia represented, it was obviously a different situation.
Yeah.
But I think for someone like with Clayburn, who's living in this hell, this shitty existence that they're in, she represented, the goodness and some light, probably a motivation to keep fighting through it and get back to her is probably what it was. That's probably why he didn't have those feelings before. Because now I imagine being in a war situation like that, it just made you appreciate everything you had and appreciate appreciate.
Well, I think
tomorrow,
that's where he got. He's 37 years old when he meets her, not married, always been awkward around women, and he has this one night where she's standing across from him as Hardy's getting married, and he's like, there she is. He probably did have that realization, like, life is too short and I need to do this. And I think too, at that point, going into 1864, they know the war's done. I think they knew, because Atlanta had fallen and they were just...
I think they all knew. I mean, these soldiers all knew. I mean, Hood knew. All these guys knew. I mean, I just can't imagine they would. But they're not the ones who make the decisions. The politicians decide. It's like always. It's the politicians create the wars, and the soldiers have to fight them. And the generals have to fight them, and that's why they're soldiers.
Mark said, I played the reading of the Sullivan Blue Letter from the Burn series for my 16-year-old daughter this week. She just started the Civil War in history class and knows nothing. She gasped and had a tear in her eye. I told her that's why I love learning about the Civil War. A guy who could write that letter but care for his country that deeply. I want to know all about it like him. That's really awesome. And that is something, that letter makes me cry every time I hear it. And just further to that, Simmons in his biography about Clayburn writes that he wraps it up by saying that Clayburn was an incredibly passionate person, not just for fighting in the Civil War for a cause that he believed in. Fortunately, that cause was not right, but anyway, but also just as equally passionate in his love for Sue, that it was something that, like Simmons writes about it, this is something that basically changed Clayburn as a person. And the fact he wraps up with that, he mentions that at the end of the biography. I think it's actually one of the last sentences, mentioning Sue and just this passion Clayburn had, that at least I think the last few months of Clayburn's life were probably some of the best he'd ever had because of her.
Yeah.
So that's really, and that's an awesome part of the story. It's sad that he died, but he had the best time I think he had something really, really special, and he recognized that. And it's just too bad Hood wouldn't give him leave, because maybe things would have been different, right?
Yeah. Sickles and Fanny White, good one. Maybe later on in life, Sickles told Mrs. Heimerdinger there, he was older. There's been some good times over there.
Hey, Sherry. My friend Sherry popped on. Hey, Sherry. Yeah, she's one of the... She's been watching my... She would what? You have Sally Hemings. Yeah, that's true.
3/5 of unbalanced. Wow. Yeah. She's killing it today. Holy moly.
Mike, we lose a lot with email and text. Nobody knows today the joy of reconvening a handwritten letter after weeks of anticipation. I know. Okay, boomer. No, Mike, I completely relate. I love getting handwritten letters. And I actually had one of my friends who lives in the US. She lives in Missouri. She messaged me back at the beginning of the pandemic and said, can I please write you a handwritten letter? And I'm like, yep. So she wrote me a letter. It was really awesome to get in the mail.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yep. But there's a whole bunch. We could have done a whole bunch more, especially those dating profiles. We obviously could have done Hooker. We could have done Butterfield.
I thought the dating profiles were awesome. They were, you really brought it with yours. Like, yours were hilarious.
Oh, they were fun. They're fun. Yours are good. They're fun to do. We did those. We wrote those up and didn't tell each other.
No.
We just read the first time.
Well, I was initially going to do. I was going to do Rollins for some reason. I'm like, oh God, I can't think of anything to say about him. I don't know him as well as I know Sherman and Jackson. And I'm like,
why Rollins of all people?
I don't know. I just wanted to do Rollins. That's all. It was actually his birthday the other day too, or maybe his birthday's today.
I don't know.
I think I saw a post about that. But yeah, but with Jackson, I latched onto the whole like tree and lemon thing, and
Yeah, I noticed.
yeah.
The lemons, but it's fun. I mean, obviously, it's a different world back then. But what's funny was the way they wrote. I mean, they could be as dirty as they wanted to, and they can make it sound so poetic. Some of these people, it's just a different world.
Yeah. Allie B confirmed it is John Rollins' birthday today. I meant to
Cool.
message you that, Andrea, too. It was Rollins' birthday. I know Andrea really likes Rollins. I know somebody else that does too. My friend Melissa, she loves John Rollins. Like that's her favorite person in the Civil War, and she does post about him quite a bit, and she knows a lot about him. It's funny that the ones that people latch onto that are so random. And Jim said there's a new book either out or coming out about Rollins as well. I gotta admit, he's one of my favorite characters in The Smoke at Dawn. He's like this mother hen, like just watching over Grant. You can see Grant gets really annoyed with it, and then Grant will go and yell at Rollins, and then Julia will be like, Ulysses.
See, Ryan says, why is only crazy people sending death threats have the time and commitment to handwrite letters these days? See, the real cool people cut out the newspapers, cut out the magazines, Ryan. So there you go. So that's something to keep in mind for the future, I suppose. But death threat, gosh. Love is in the air in England, apparently.
That's hilarious. But yeah, it was a great episode. It's nice to do a lighthearted one. Andrew said yes, total mother hen. Yes. Rollins definitely was the mother hen. And I don't know if it's probably exaggerated in Jeff Shara's Western Theater series, but the stuff in The Smoke at Dawn is like just it's comedic at times, because there's one part where Grant mentions something about Rollins and spanking, which every time I read that, I laugh out loud. You have no idea what I'm talking about because you haven't read the book. So
no, I haven't read the book. Hey, Jonathan.
Hey, John. Good morning. Ryan said, "Aren't Chamberlain's letters with his wife less than subtly racy?" Yeah.
Yeah, but he probably exaggerated all his stuff. So with him,
that's probably how McClellan was too.
Probably was. Probably could be on bayonets all the time.
Go big or go home.
Exactly. Yeah. Black Hawk War.
Oh my God! I was just gonna say I haven't mentioned the Black Hawk War yet.
That's too funny.
It's too bad we've already recorded an episode about that on Rail Splitter, because I would so make a point of saying it that way.
I'm surprised you guys didn't do anything special on Rail Splitter for Lincoln, by the way.
We just we didn't realize
that it was Lincoln's birthday.
We didn't make that connection. We didn't make that connection.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're just like, we're not on the ball this year.
Swing to the fences over there.
Andrea, Horace Porter is another interesting one. And Alibi said, it is, but it's so fucking funny. He's always just at the door and something in those books. And Sherman is like, is he always just there? And Grant's like, yes. Yeah, for anybody that hasn't yet, you've got to listen to the audiobook version of The Smoke at Dawn, because the narrator he does such a great job, especially with the Grant Rollins stuff. And just like Julia, she'll be like, she's like, Liz, stop that. She totally chewed them out.
I am curious though, like with that injury Chamberlain had at Petersburg, how that whole romance life must have been.
I don't think there was much.
No, I don't think there was either.
There couldn't have been. I'm not a guy, but I'm going to say there couldn't have been.
Then again, Fanny Chamberlain like we said, she dated the entire Bowdoin College by that point anyway. A little younger, so she probably had her fill, and that was it.
Jess is gonna get at us about that when she listens to the episode.
Yeah,
because we had just recorded it, and then we posted about it, and she's like, "Don't talk about the letters," or don't talk, not the letters, but don't talk about her.
Well, she's definitely all on board with that whole thing.
Oh, she loves Chamberlain. That's
everybody loves Chamberlain. Awesome. I mean, he's not the first person to exaggerate with life, but he's great. Obviously, he's a very important person in American history.
He is.
I think more people need to study. No question about it.
Yeah. Jonathan says, when I was in the submarine service, I would start a letter to my fiance and keep writing till I was in port, which could be 3+ months. So they were a little long and in depth. And that was in the 80s. Times have changed. Yeah, Andrea, Fanny. Yeah, her name was Fanny. Wonder if
Savannah.
that's like, it's kind of like poor Savannah. So that's where we're going.
Yeah, exactly. But no, but there's definitely some great love stories. I mean, I definitely enjoy doing this thing with that one though. But
Oh yeah, no, it
I
was
thought it
great.
was I thought it was funny because I'd forgotten when I was a kid. I'd go, we'd go see concerts in Worcester,
Yeah.
and I'd go to hockey games in Worcester and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And seeing all the like Valentine's capital of the world, and I never understood why. And then when I got older, I realized that's where it came from. But yeah, it's go to Worcester, Mass. Hardly the place you would think about for romance, but not exactly a popular honeymoon destination. No question about that.
That place I would want to go on my honeymoon, that's for sure.
Nope, absolutely not.
Nope.
I love Chamberlain's. Yeah, Chamberlain's mustache does not get enough credit. I think that Buford's gets more credit than it should, and that's the Sam Elliott thing. I think.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Andrea, because I know it's going to get her going on that Sam Elliott. But
Hey,
I think,
I'm a Sam Elliott fan too.
Everyone likes Sam Elliott, but I mean, I think when you're looking at the mustaches, though,
Andrea said she did a presentation about Chamberlain in one of her son's classes, and someone said he looked like the Lorax.
Oh.
Ryan said Chamberlain's last child is Gertrude, born in 1865, so he might be functional, but other conclusions are available.
I think so.
Allie K, my love for Chamberlain is a little too closely tied to my love for Jeff Daniels, but I do love Chamberlain. I love that he was an academic.
Well, Chamberlain's a great story. I mean, the funniest is if you've ever visited Brunswick, where his house and the museum is, it's interesting because there's a house there. It's his house that he grew up in or lived in. He's buried not far away. There's that really good Joshua's Tavern right around the corner that's got a bunch of Civil War stuff in it. But his house is something though, and when you take the tour, they give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about Chamberlain. Like he was a great, obviously military, the whole thing. But it sounds like based on the tour guides, and this is all local people, they talk about it, was how it really cut to his head.
Yeah.
And then like he had people in his own family in his house. He because he was General Chamberlain, because they gave him when they thought he was going to die, they brevetted him. They made general.
That's what they did to Sam Elliott too.
Right.
Or not Sam Elliott, Buford. Oh my God, Andrew got me on Sam Elliott.
But he had his own family. Children have to refer to him as General.
Yeah.
In that way, and he's got a sitting room right in his in the house where it has a bunch of stuff that says General on it, and then he became governor, and so I think he really appreciated his own thing. I think it really got to him, and I think that bothered people. I know during the war it bothered guys like Ellis Spear, who, when that Passing of the Armies book came out, because he really painted a picture of war that they didn't really agree with. And he gets hit on that a lot, I think, where it isn't so much embellishing as I wonder if it's just glorifying, right?
Yeah.
And I think people for the most part don't like the idea of seeing your friends get killed and having somebody write about how glorious it was. And I think that was the big crux of the issue for him. I know but Ellis Spear was a Bowdoin guy too. And so a lot of these people were all from there. Yeah. And they also had a lot of the 16th guys who fought the day before at Oak Ridge. That tells you how different military is now. Nowadays, you lose a bunch of people. You lose 5-10% of your military in a battle. You won't fight forever. That's just not going to happen. These guys had to go to Round Top, and you don't see, people. I don't think people really realize that. Now, obviously, I'm kind of different about the 16th Maine. I study a lot about it. No one does, right?
I really want to learn more about the 16th Maine because of you and because of Heckman. I'll like to hear you guys get fired up about it when we were on Heckman's live stream. That was really it was really interesting. The other thing I just thought of too is I wonder what Howard thought of Chamberlain, because Howard was not one to embellish the details of something. As I've learned doing this podcast the last 6 months and reading his memoirs, he is one more to tell this is what happened,
I think because he could write and he was a professor, and he was probably intellectually probably the smartest in that Army of the Potomac, realistically, but he was a Mainer, so he probably respected him, but at the same time, but he might have been happy that he was telling the story, so he didn't have to, and then he was really, really giving Maine a good look. So I bet you he was cool with him.
I think he was, but I mean, the other thing about Howard too is when you read about his like him recounting when Burnside was in charge and then it became Hooker, he never says anything bad about either of them. He's, when Burnside is in charge, he's having a meeting with his men and he says, okay, 3 cheers for General Burnside. He's loyal to the general that is in charge. I don't think he participated in any of the kind of trying to bring Burnside down that was going on. I think Howard was very much, I think he was just sticking to his Christian ideals at that point, and just that's who he was. Who knows if the Christianity also played into it as well. But when Hooker came along, Howard did say, okay, yeah, there are rumors about him, but you know what? I think he was supportive of the choice. He just switched. So he's not one of these ones that is throwing shade at people in his memoirs. And that's one thing that's very different. Like, he doesn't have that. He has an agenda. Everybody does when they write their memoirs, but it's not the same as what you see with Grant and with Sherman. Like, because he writes some stuff that's very contradictory to what Sherman, like Howard's got to write in his memoirs, oh, hey, it was me who was after Fort McAllister, and Sherman okayed the plan.
Well, reading Sherman's memoirs specifically about Columbia, South Carolina, it's like two completely different. I mean, I haven't read I've only know what you told me what Howard said, but reading compared to what Sherman writes night and day, he definitely Sherman definitely tries to cover his ass with South Carolina in that memoirs.
He does, but Howard never says anything bad with him. Like Howard and it's shocking that Slocum was involved in the planning of the funeral as well for Sherman, because Slocum and Sherman didn't seem that close, but Howard and Sherman definitely seemed like
they were definitely close. They definitely were
very close on the march, but I think because they had this understanding. And again, it's the more especially after doing the Carolinas campaign, and I've never mentioned this to you before, I think Sherman and Howard is another friendship in the Civil War that is very underrated, that Sherman is putting his trust in Howard with Columbia. He's recognizing that, okay, the Christian dude he's going to be I got to put him in charge because he's going to keep things sane.
Yeah, not possibly. I mean, it's interesting to see how these whole things go. God, how they play themselves out. But the Chamberlain story is a good place. I love that visiting that Brunswick. That Maine is great. I love Maine, but that whole area is really, really neat to do this.
I've been there, but I didn't get to see any of the Chamberlain stuff because, again, that's what happens when you travel with.
You were in Brunswick and you didn't see the Chamberlain stuff?
I was
really
16 years old at the time with my family on what was like this huge last hurrah road trip because our kids are growing up. And I was like, I want to go see the Civil War stuff. And my mom was like, no, we can't. And I'm like,
Brunswick is the size of a postage stamp. It's like going to Fenway and not seeing the Green Monster.
I know.
How does that even possible? It's all okay. Well, whatever.
Welcome to family vacations where we would drive by Kennesaw and I would be like, can we pull over? No,
Kennesaw is great, but you missed out on that one. It sucks to be you on that one. That's a good one.
Well, hopefully I get there sometime. Hey, Lisa. She said excellent info on Howard. Yeah, Lisa, I posted that Howard thing the other day, and she actually asked me, like, is there a source for him? And I explained that hopefully I posted this, that the last biography about him came out in the 1960s. But the best place to start is with his memoirs, to really get to know who he was. And then from there, go to reading biographies. Actually, Howard University, as well as Lincoln Memorial University, which Howard obviously founds Howard University, but he's also behind the founding of Lincoln Memorial University in Harrogate, Tennessee. They have a collection of Oliver Otis Howard letters too. That's actually one of the places where I checked for a signature for my tattoo.
I hope they don't spell that one wrong.
I don't think they will. It'll say.
I'm gonna laugh at this Howard. With the W. I'm gonna laugh my goddamn ass off. Make my day.
Assuming my dude will let me see the tattoo. Yeah, I'm really glad that you think so highly of me and want bad things to happen to me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll be getting my updated tattoo on Friday, Mary.
You will. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, another one for me. So
I'm very excited about it. I will hopefully, now that we're opening back up, I will hopefully be getting mine on March the 26th. So that's a Friday. So I have it for the Facebook Live on the 27th, which I'm excited about.
It's 5 minutes. Fort Ticonderoga. That stinks. Hey, Chris, speaking of Fort Ticonderoga, here, my next town over from me is a town called Barnstable, and they have a couple of guns from Fort Ticonderoga that are up there at the town hall.
You told me that before.
So, yeah, that's pretty cool. So, you can go visit some of the actual. I don't know how the hell they got them, but they're actually done. So pretty cool. You know what? Actually, I was up at Lake Placid a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
and I did stop to go see John Brown stuff. He has his farm and his grave out there, John Brown. So that's pretty cool. But I'm driving by and it says John Brown's grave. I was like, it can't be that John Brown because I didn't. This is just probably 10 years ago now. So I pulled it. Yeah, is that John Brown?
I gotta
Pretty
get
cool.
there to see that too. Once the border opens back up, which hopefully will be in September. That's what we're looking at right now.
Gotta go for some. All right, Jake, we'll catch you later. It's gonna be a lot of snow coming to the south. Everyone's talking about the snow. I mean, I'm not sure. I could probably check the freaking weather once in a while up here. I have no idea. We might be getting 100 feet of snow tomorrow. I wouldn't even know about it.
Hey, I'm just happy that I made it into work all 5 days this week and didn't get bogged down with either having the plague.
It's pretty rare for you.
I know it's been rare since I was sick back at the beginning of January.
Yeah. Well, at least you're back in the office. I'm glad it's nice to be back in the office. You know.
Oh no, it is. It's really, really good. It's busy, but that's job security. So.
Check my weather real quick here, but no, but you know.
That's a good.
It's gonna snow on Thursday here.
Mark, been to Chattanooga 3 times, not 1 minute on the battlefield. Ooh, that. Yeah, we also drove by like Chattanooga all the time on the way down to Florida, and I was like, I want to stop. Nope. Let me tell you, it was like one of my most glorious moments was when I drove down to Chattanooga for the first time to go to Chickamauga, and taking that exit. It was like, yes. Finally doing what I want to do.
Well, I mean, whenever I travel, I always, you know, even if it's for a football, like a Patriot game, I always find something historical. Like when we went to the Super Bowl in Atlanta, we stayed with our Bill right in Kennesaw. We stayed right next to the mountain because I wanted to stay in Kennesaw.
Yeah.
And so that was great because you wake up, you go walk out the driveway of the car, and you get big Kennesaw Mountain, little right there, just in the distance. It was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, no,
but I got to visit it, so that was cool. So I got that one on you. So
well, you know what? I'm gonna get there sometime.
Yeah, sure.
I will. Sherry said it's icy and sleet in DC, Maryland, and Virginia today. And then Jim says it's supposed to hit Middle Tennessee Sunday night and all day Monday.
Wow.
Means it's probably going to hit us at some point too.
Yeah, it must be a Midwest storm then. Usually everything kind of funnels its way back up these ways, but that's hey, they stay safe with that. I mean, God, yeah, that's hate to see that. But we haven't got too bad with the weather, so.
No, well, admittedly, last Friday was pretty bad when I was driving, and I don't like being in whiteouts and playing which side of the road am I on game, which is
always fun
here in county. Yeah.
Kind of like also known as the driving from Bayside Brewery game.
Yep, I guess. Ryan said, I'm dipping into Carney's letters from the peninsula, and so far my favorite Civil War friendship is fast becoming Carney, Hooker Sickles, and even Heinzelman, who's pretending to be the senior sensible one, but is obviously having the time of his life with these guys.
No doubt behind
I think Howard had a good time in Columbia watching the drunkenness, but then it got out of hand. Speaking of the snow, I hope people it's not going to affect our roundtable Wednesday, Mary. Oh yeah, yes, we have our roundtable Wednesday night too. So if most of you have been part of it on here, but if you haven't, send us an email at info@civilwarbreakfastclub.com. Again, there's no topic. It's just going to be kind of a free for all. It's going to be our first sober one because Darren and I aren't drinking. But yeah. As I hit send, I heard a massive limb fall in my yard. Oh no, Wayne.
Oh,
that sucks.
There's a lot of rain. So Andrea,
hey,
hey Barbara. So Andrea, now you can't forget. Because now you have to come on Wednesday. Remember last time you thought it was Thursday for some inexplicable reason?
I'll make sure I send her the invite. I should write that down so I don't forget.
Yeah, that sucks. We had where I live, there's trees that surround this whole house in this neighborhood. I live in the middle of nowhere, and you just hear trees fall all the time. There's something cool about hearing the wind, though, but it's howling. But at the same time, it sucks when you hope to God doesn't, to pick up stuff the next 2 days out of your backyard.
Yeah, we'll try having an F3 tornado go through your town. That's a good time.
Yeah. That blows.
Seeing the Masonic Lodge all over the street as well was amazing. In a bad way.
They better not peek in our secrets.
Yeah. Well, I was like, oh my God, I can find the secrets. No, I could not go up the street because there was a fucking gas leak and it was
Yeah, see,
barricaded. So,
that's too bad.
Barbara, no drinking. What's up with that? So Darren and I are doing dry February. So no drinking for the month of February. So we're recording the podcast dry. We're doing the Facebook Lives drive, and we're going to be doing the roundtable dry as well. So
It's led to a whole bunch of new moods, Barbara. I'll be honest, yeah, it's a whole new world. It's really, really exciting. We'll get through the snow this Valentine's weekend. Hope everybody stays safe though. But I'm looking forward to the roundtable. I think there'll be a lot of good discussions.
Yep, it will
then,
be.
and then we have our book club that's going to be coming up next month. I still think we should have done it in February. I know we do it quarterly, but it feels like it's going to take forever to get here. I think everyone just wants to do it, but we have to. We're going to do it.
Well, I mean, this is our first time with doing the book club, so maybe next year we, do one in February, one in April, take the summer off, and then do one in September, one in December or November or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I think Ryan's going to have to imbibe for both of us on Wednesday.
Yep. He's like, time. Ryan said, I will limit myself to a podcast promotional Bushmills for the round table. Ooh.
Well, Ryan's a returning champion for this one. So
he was on fire the last time. That was hilarious.
Yeah, it was.
We were all concerned about him the next morning. Like, oh, is Ryan okay? He's probably hungover.
Yep, definitely picked it for the shortest month. That's absolutely what it is.
Yep, that's why we did it.
But yeah, that's one of those. I did it last February too, so that's not that bad. I made it the whole month. That's no big deal.
I haven't done dry February in 5 years.
Really?
I think. Yep.
But
this was my first break in a long time.
Oh, it's good. It's funny. It's not a bad thing. It's good to know you can do it. I mean,
Yep. Nope. I've been enjoying waking up not feeling shitty on Sunday
You'll
morning.
Break. You're gonna be like General Lee at Gettysburg when we get to mid-February. You're gonna be like, in the middle, she will break. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
You'll be call me maybeing by 22nd.
Oh, 23rd. Whatever. If I do, it'll be 100% because of you.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Don't. These aren't the droids you're looking for. I mean, I'm going the whole month.
Also, am I.
Mm-hmm.
God, you have faith in me.
No faith at all.
I know.
No, not even a little. We'll see. Hopefully you do. We'll see what you do.
Yeah.
So did you learn anything from this episode? I know it was kind of a fun little sojourn. It wasn't really a battle episode.
I mean, I learned the story you told was awesome. I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot from our just discussing, what it taught me is just how much, if you look at the love stories, you see the other side to these generals, whether it's like the story you told, or whether it's Claiborne and Reynolds, and as well, like the new research that has come out about Reynolds, which, like I said, was Christopher Conforti, who was the one that kind of alerted us to that. So that, like, to see the more human side, but also I had no idea about Vinegar Valentines. So that was a funny side of it, but it was just it was a fun episode, and it was fun to be creative and try and come up with these dating profiles as well. So it was a great time. Like, how about you? What did you learn?
I think it wasn't so much a learning as was reminding was how marketed Valentine's Day was back then, and it just got me reminded more about how economically marketing sales was still the same back then. It just reminded me of all those, like the one I mentioned about Fort Sumter and has fallen, and so
Fort Sumter fell, and so have our prices.
So have our prices. That was brilliant, actually.
That is really good marketing. Anything else that you learned?
No, I was, the Esther Howland story was pretty cool. She's a woman American woman. She gets a Valentine from England. I don't know if it was Ryan Diamond related, but she got one. And she was a student at a place called Mount Holyoke College here in Western Mass, in a town called South Dudley, which is way out there. I mean, that's, and so she had the idea to make these cards. So around 1850, she started to mass produce these cards, and she made a fortune. What did you say? It was 70,000 a year she was
between
making?
25 and 75 a year, depending.
Oh, wow. I mean,
and then she sold it out to her competition eventually too, which is amazing. Scott says, I'd love to hear a Fort Donaldson podcast. Scott, that is next week.
You came to the right place.
Yep. That's next week. Yep.
No, yeah, that'll be a good one too, because we haven't done a battle one since when? Since It's been a while.
Carolinas, although that wasn't really a battle. That was more of
The last battle we did was probably Fredericksburg, right?
I think so. No,
Yeah.
because you did
No, it would have been Stones River.
Stones River, in
Yeah.
January. Stones
Yeah.
River was the last battle we did, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely Stones River. So those are the ones I enjoy because you get to brush up on these battles and talk about them again. I think people like, but it's fun. I mean, it's fun. It was fun to do this exercise on Valentine's Day just because this was something different, you know.
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, I like doing these lighthearted episodes, but yeah, admittedly, I love the battles. Like I love studying the battles and stuff. And you know, it just all that I've learned in doing this with you the last 6 months has been amazing. You know, the Stones River was very eye-opening for me because I saw how close the Union came to losing that battle. But then I also saw this friendship between Grant and Thomas, as well as you have Sheridan and Claiborne just completely going at each other, the two MVPs of the battle. And that
good day was a good day for Sheridan, that's for sure.
Yeah. And just to think that had those troops not been pulled, that could have backed Claiborne up, how that could have gone, and you would have had a completely different story in the Western theater. It also showcases Rosecrans' talent as a general to show that kind of, and that's where I think you and I both realized that at Chickamauga, he has a breakdown because he's not himself at that battle at all. He's not the Rosecrans that you see at Stones River, you know, because he's still like, the men have not changed. He still has Thomas with him. But at Chickamauga, you see Rosecrans break down, and then you see Thomas step into that role of having to take over for him. And I think that's because Thomas recognized what was happening. It's the same thing with Ball's Bluff. Like Ball's Bluff was an amazing one to study too, because the political ramifications behind that battle.
Ryan says my battle suggestions: Williamsburg, Second Manassas, and we did a Second Manassas.
We did. Yep. Second Manassas was our second episode, I think.
So it's on the. If you go back, if you haven't listened to that one, Ryan, you can go find it. It's that was our first battle episode.
It was
the very first one.
Yep.
Williamsburg will do because that's a good story. Because that's a good Hancock one. You know, people don't realize, like, think of historic Williamsburg, they think of the Revolutionary War. There's a lot of Civil War stuff there. I mean, it's pretty cool. That's where Hancock got his superb nickname was Williamsburg. So we can probably find a way to get that one into the rotation. Chantilly is a good one. We could talk about Kearney, right?
Yep. No, I just wrote that down as something that we can definitely do, because in March we have like Kernstown as well.
So that'd be fun talking about Kernstown. Talk about old Stonewall.
Just looking forward to that one.
Kernstown's a fun little battlefield. It's just, you know, if anybody who's been there, it's outside of Winchester. It's a privately owned battlefield. It's like pulling into a development. You pass the Dunkin' Donuts, past McDonald's, you take a right, and there's a gate, and it's, you know, Pritchard House is on the hill, and it's just a big field, and it's like privately owned. It's not even a national battlefield. When I went there, there was no cannon out. There was just a big field. Some guy was mowing the lawn. He's like, "Hey, I'll show you around." And he was, you know,
I've sort of been there too, because
he goes, the pic. I'm like, hey, let me show. I made this museum in my garage. Come check it out. It was like some guy's garage. He had all these books. I was like, holy crap! It's like a legitimate, like, private thing. And he goes, yeah, usually we're closed today. I usually keep the gates shut, but today's your lucky day. I was like, just wow, okay. But Chantilly will be a good one, and Williamsburg will be a real good one. That'll be a good one too.
Yep. No, I got that written down. And Jonathan mentioned Romney as well. Good
bars in Williamsburg. There's some real good bars in Williamsburg.
We are going to do an episode, I think, probably when we're in Gettysburg, about like the bar scene in battle towns, because there definitely is a bar scene and with breweries and stuff like that.
Well, so Williamsburg, cool. There's the main drag, the main street is called Duke of Gloucester, and everybody calls it Dog Street, and it's just bars up and down the street. It's pretty cool. Nice area. You got all the Revolutionary War stuff too. So, and then people don't realize too, like Winchester has got a lot of Revolutionary War stuff in it.
Winchester is a place I'm definitely looking forward to going post-COVID once I can travel when the border opens again.
True. But Kernstown's pretty cool. Kernstown is a good one. That whole Winchester, Kernstown, that whole area is really, really neat. Because you can basically, I think when I was there in August, we went to we went to Winchester, Kernstown, Antietam, Harpers Ferry, like all within like the same afternoon.
I remember that because I was like in the morning we were in Kernstown, and then I called you on my afternoon. I think, I don't know, at some point, and you were in the corn. We were at we were in the cornfield at
I
Antietam
was
for
lost
a
in the
while.
cornfield.
I know, that was like, I just call you on my break and all I see is this corn and I'm like, what the fuck are you?
Lost in the cornfield, send help.
Yep.
But that was a good trip. That was fun, and but you can see all that stuff. And Monocacy is another good one. It's a small one you can visit, places like that.
Mark said he spent 3 days in Winchester in October. Awesome. A lot like Gettysburg College time, art scene, and tons of history. Yeah, I definitely want to get there. Like after
Mark, I'll
seeing
tell you,
Darren go there,
Winchester.
I definitely
So
want to go there.
I went there with a friend of ours, and we went there.
You went in June.
It was in June. It was in June, and our friend Bill, we recreated Robert E. Lee's escape from Gettysburg.
Mhm.
So we went from, Gettysburg, went through Monterey Pass. We went down to Falling Waters. We went all the way. We all the way to Winchester. We didn't go all the way to like Staunton or all that. We decided to stop at Winchester, and I'd never been before, and so we stopped and was like, holy shit, this place is awesome. And it was the first. It was right after. They had just opened up from COVID, so that they loosened up so it was my first like beer in a bar since March. And this is like in June. So I was like sitting outside. That old Winchester area with all the restaurants, that outdoor area is awesome. And so when I was there in August, I went a couple months later, we stayed at the George Washington Hotel for a night. And we hung with some friends down there and just spent the night down. That's a must place, that Winchester. That's an absolute must visit. Even if you're not a big history person, there's so many little shops and restaurants. And Mark mentions like Gettysburg. It is a lot like Gettysburg. It's actually very similar to Gettysburg in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Got a battle question here from John. Have you done battle in Mobile Bay? Not yet, but I just wrote it down as another option that we can do. Yeah, we plan on like covering as much as we can with this podcast. Johnson says, I spent 2 days in Fredericksburg and the park rangers were surprised and said no one ever stays overnight. I would love to spend a couple nights in Fredericksburg and just explore area.
Yeah, because you can Prospect Hill and obviously Maurice Heights, and you go over, all that stuff. There's all kinds of things you can do there.
Yeah, the Heights, eh?
Oh yeah, definitely. But
Cool.
the George Washington Hotel. That's a place. And what's cool about that, Mark, is there's a little cigar area, a little place right on the corner. You can sit there and fire up the cigars and sit there. Oh, I was heaven doing that with my little bourbon and my cigar in Winchester, and that's the life for me.
Yeah, that would be my life too. Once post COVID,
back when drinking was a thing for me, but it's okay. But that's a must visit.
Well, hopefully I get there post COVID.
Yeah. All right, fine. We'll just bring the battlefields up there. We can just move them to Canada. Let's take all those Confederate statues, stick up in your neighborhood, be looking, visit them.
Ryan, maybe a pod on the Mexican-American War and the effects of being members of the Aztec Club and Civil War generals McClellan, Lee, Beauregard, and I think Joe Johnson were all on it on Winfield Scott's staff. I think they were too. Grant was, I think, on Taylor's, like with Taylor, I think.
So close to DC, Fredericksburg. I didn't get a chance to go to Fredericksburg when I was there a couple falls ago because some friends of mine who were with didn't want to go, and so it was when we did the John Wilkes Booth tour, when we did the escape tour.
Let me tell you, that would never be a problem. Mark said, if you're planning a Civil War Breakfast Club trip to Gettysburg in May, Monocacy is a great side trip. Love to go down there with any Breakfast Club friends who haven't been there. Yeah, I definitely want to get to Monocacy too. Monocacy's in their bottle. I'm obsessed with drinking right now, apparently. Monocacy is definitely another battle to cover as well.
Well, Jubal early,
Yep, got a lot to fill out the calendar with anyway.
Mm-hmm. No, there's a lot of good. If you're in that area, there's so many things because you can go to Balls Bluff, which is right near Quantico. Yeah. The problem with Washington, and admittedly, I'm going to be at Washington in August. I'm looking forward to that. The problem with Washington is that you just can't get anywhere. The traffic sucks so bad. Like we drove from a couple of years ago. I was with some friends. We drove from Washington to Gettysburg, and it's like 90 miles. I think it's like 3.5 hours. And it just that Beltway is brutal. I mean, it was like a Thursday in the afternoon we left. It was our own freaking fault, but Yeah.
Hey, Jay Price. She said she was going to be on here.
Look who lost her shoes again.
Yeah, she said, took them.
That's probably what it was. Yeah. Well, then he certainly couldn't have tied the laces then, Jen, if took them, Be a good trick.
Maybe he probably could. He's probably pretty good with that one hand.
He could do it. Probably was, yeah. Okay.
Most people adapt.
You definitely do. Any port in a storm,
Hey, Craig. Jay Price has been to Balls Bluff too. Mark said, most people don't realize I-270 goes right through the field. You can see several of the significant spots as you cross the river. Paul says, that's why I go to Gettysburg by myself. I can explore what I want when I want without worrying about friends who don't want to go there. I'm lucky that like post-COVID, I know I have friends who do want to go there, which has been like one of the silver linings of this pandemic is I have a whole group of friends now that I definitely can, do the battlefield thing with. Awesome.
Last time when I was in Gettysburg, I went one of the times, I think it was June. I got there early. Like I wasn't, I think I told our friend Bill I was going to get there for like 3, and I got there like 11 in the morning.
Yeah, because you sent me a picture from Round Top.
And so I ended up like doing a cigar at Round Top. I ended up walking behind the 20th Indiana, walking all the way through the Rosewoods, just because just to see some stuff and just not have to talk to people and just kind of, and that was a good afternoon. But that's what's cool about it, is being able to go to these places. And it's important. We were saying in one of these episodes a few weeks ago that people go to these battlefields and they don't get out of the car. They do the audio tour, which I don't get. I don't understand why.
I have to get out. I have to get out and walk and explore. Like when I went to Antietam with Jen and I have a mutual, like Jay Price and I have a mutual friend that lives there, and she's given us each tours, and like she was able to take us to places that nobody goes, and she's really good about just telling the story of the battle. And I'm like, Gibbon is, I love studying Gibbon. He's such an interesting guy, Iron Brigade and all that, but she made sure to take me to all the places where he had been. And she was like, okay, Gibbon would have been standing here. This would have been his view. So it was really interesting to kind of see just things that like, see it through their, like she was trying to tell me the story through Gibbon's eyes, which is really, really cool. And then like Chickamauga is a great place to go off the beaten path, especially Snodgrass Hill, because you're down in the woods where Longstreet and Claiborne had their men. And you can't imagine how, all those assaults that he kept throwing at Thomas and those men up there, going up through the trees at dusk. Like it's dark in there on a sunny day. I couldn't imagine doing that at dusk. And then the one place I haven't been, I didn't get a chance to last time, was to go where Claiborne had the fight at night, when Bragg was like, you need to go get those cannons, and Claiborne was like, whatever.
It'd be cool to go visit the rock fight area at Manassas.
Yeah,
go visit these places. Now, Jen mentioned the 20th Indiana. I love the 20th Indiana. That whole Hobart Ward line on the 3rd Court, Gettysburg is a great place to go, because people will go to the 124th New York and they'll walk down the triangular field. But there's a lot of cool places to visit, down by the 20th. And you can definitely do that. Wheatfield's another area you can walk around into, Yeah.
No, there's definitely a lot of places to walk around.
You know what's cool? What I love about Little Round Top, this is what I do all the time, is how you go there in the summertime and it's like freaking 100 degrees and it's just hot as shit.
Yeah.
And you go that night and you can put your hand on the rocks, you can still feel them hot. That's one of those things I love to do. Is just, there's that rock right where the wigwag guys are, the flag people. There's that rock right not far from my secret spot that I go to smoke my cigar.
I know that rock you're talking about.
But if you go there like around right at sunset and it's dark, when you leave and it's dark, you can put your hand on that rock and it's still hot from the sun.
Yep.
And it's one of those things I've always, that's one of the last things I always do when I leave Round Top is touch that rock. And it's always hot from the sun. It's one of those things I do.
Yeah, Amelia said that she's moving to West Virginia this summer. So excited about more driving trips to these places, and Eastern time zone for Civil War Breakfast Club things. Haven't been to Gettysburg and Antietam since 2000. That's awesome, Amelia.
Wow, moving to West Virginia.
Amelia,
aren't you in California or West?
Yep.
Wow, that's
Andrea said too that she like physically like boulders pick up dirt. I do the same thing. Like I remember kneeling down in the woods at near Snodgrass Hill and just, touching the ground. And, one like thinking this is the same ground where the soldiers were, and all that.
Yes, Andrew, I know that's how rocks work. it's just a tradition thing I do. I just one of those things. It's a very Gettysburg little thing I like to do.
Well, I do the same thing. Like I always touch stuff too. I always have. Even
I know it's not the only rock that does that.
Jonathan said Leesburg is great. I can spend several days walking the town and battlefield at Ball's Bluff. Missed the weekend last year due to COVID. Jim says, I don't get people that stay in the car. When I walk the battlefield, I walk a battlefield. When I visited Vicksburg, I walked nearly 26 miles in 3 days and still didn't get to see all the battlefield. Yeah, there's The Chickamauga is the same way. I still have not seen that entire.
Well, I mean, what's great, what's a fun thing to do at Gettysburg, Mary, is you park a little round top and you walk to the Slider Farm where
Yeah.
they filmed a lot of the Gettysburg movie because it's
Mhm.
impossible to get to. You just have and that's a fun that's a fun little walk. But I love walking the march, the first Texan march. You start
Yeah.
at the Texas Monument, walk across the street,
Yeah.
and then walk through the triangular field, and
Mhm.
you got to want it to make it all the way to the 124th New York, because you're walking through grass that's up to your, you'd be drowning, you'd be over your head. But it's even up to here. It's tall, and there's all kinds of snakes and crap, and you got to be careful of.
Hey, I've ended up in a swamp at Chickamauga, so
Well,
it was
that's
awesome. Mike says Ambrose Bierce has a great description of the end of the fighting at dusk at Chickamauga. I'll have to check that out.
Mhm.
Allie K is wondering if anybody's been to Richmond and have recommendations.
Oh, Andrea.
The water is wet. She's busting
I mean,
you just like I do every
I'm
day.
just gonna sit here and not say a word then. She missed my very traditional thing, which I've never even told anybody until just now, and I got pissed on for it.
What's that? The rock thing?
About how I was
You
doing
told
that
me.
before I
You
leave.
told me that months
I don't
ago.
have told you that. I don't have told you that.
Yeah, you have. I knew that about
I think
you.
that's a fig Newton of your imagination. I mean, telling. I don't even told it.
What the fuck
But
ever.
I always do that now. Whatever. Who cares? Oh well. Stupid. And it's the only rock that's ever been hot ever. Barksdale's Charge at Gettysburg is a good walk too. That's a good one too. That's a little easier though because it's not as treacherous. But if you walk all the way to Plum Run, Jen, and try to cross the river, you're getting some there. You know.
A friend of Johnson said a friend of mine hiked and helped a couple in the car with directions twice, once near the Peace Light and the other at Emmetsburg Pike. There was a lot of head shaking.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Gemma.
But you can walk, it's so fun to just park the car and just walk it. I mean, you can 25, 30,000 steps a day easy if you're doing it right at Gettysburg. Now, I don't mind I don't mind it. I don't do like the going jogging on the roads. I just like to walk to the woods and walk, go to like Rose Farm and cut across, and then find you up to the Stony Hill and go through the wheat field and just walk. Just walk. That's what's so cool about it.
Yeah. Now you and I battlefield the same way. Like we go off the beaten path. I've battlefielded with people that don't like to do that at all. Like they're like, ooh.
I don't get it. I mean,
I don't get it either. Like I went to walk through Reynolds Woods one time and it was like told, no, don't, there's poison ivy. And I'm like, fuck it, whatever. So I walk through it.
There is a lot of poison ivy. You got to be careful.
There's a lot at Chickamauga too. There's a lot at Chickamauga too. And there's like swampy areas and all that. And areas where your cell phone doesn't work, like Bragg's headquarters. Scott said, I spent a lot of time at Shiloh. I love to walk across the Sarah Bell cotton field through the peach orchard, then turn left and cover the entire sunken road. Ooh, there's another sunken road, Weeks, at Shiloh.
Many sunken roads.
And then turn left back across Duncan Field to the Ruggles battery line, and then back to where I parked at the Sarah Bell site. Great loop.
The other place to walk at Gettysburg, since we're talking about Gettysburg, is Culp's Hill, because because no one goes there anymore.
Yeah, that's the area that they're redoing. Though, remember we learned that from that lecture we were on.
They got to redo Round Top. There'll be no Round Top after next summer for 2 years.
Yep, we'll have to find a different place to go smoke cigars.
Definitely have to, But Culp's Hill is cool. You park at the second mast, you walk across the field off the Mudge Field, and then you can walk right up the hills. You walk up the march of George Sears. George Stewart's second, Maryland guys, Maryland Stewart. In the paintings, it's like the rocks are exactly the same. It's just really, really cool.
Yeah.
And what I wish they would do is, and they would talk about that when we were talking about at Charlie's lecture we were at that night.
Yeah.
But they need to take a lot of the woods out to make it work. Because if they could make Culp's Hill a portion look like, like how where the 20th Main Monument is, because that's more along the lines of what it looked like, it'd be so much cooler because you could actually walk it too.
Yeah. No, I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Allie B said she walked Culp's Hill last time I was there. It was great because no one was there, and also it was winter. I actually love visiting in autumn and winter when it's not as busy and it's nice and cold.
I was at Gettysburg in November a couple of years ago. It was the coldest I've ever been in my damn life.
I was there a couple of years ago too.
Unseasonably cold. It was,
Mark says, now that the Gettysburg Country Club is closed, you can walk the Confederate path from Hares Ridge to Willoughby Run, scavenger hunt, finding locations of archers' capture, following those Tennessee regiments, or following 26 North Carolina or South Carolina is right up to the seminary.
Captive audience. Oh, Jen, Andrea's killing it today. Hey, Mark, you know that Hares Ridge, they got that little bar there, that Sharpshooters, which is a sneaky good little place to go inside. They got a nice little bar in there. Another place no one goes to.
Then Jim says the sunken road at Shiloh was location of the Hornet's Nest, and it's not very sunken at all. Oh, the Hornet's Nest. We're going to be talking about Shiloh.
Shiloh's coming up. Won't be long.
Yep, April, 2
Another
episodes on
month or so.
Shiloh. Jonathan said, at Ball's Bluff, most of the early morning part of the attack is only accessible if you are willing to walk off the beaten path. I am so willing to do that.
Yeah. But a place like Kernstown is just a field, but a place like Kennesaw, it's all off the beaten path. We got lost. We ended up having to walk. We got spun around somehow and ended up having to walk a long way back. We know where the hell we were freaking going. But that's what's cool about some of these places.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame that a lot of these places are built over. You know, you see
like
that up here.
Fredericksburg. Someone mentioned in the comments at Fredericksburg, there's a lot of houses there. And I know when Nick, like my Rail Splitter co-host went, he said that it was, really, really built over quite a bit. But he said you can still see parts of it. And I know Heckman's been there a few times too.
I think he's there now, if I remember correctly.
Yes, he's in Fredericksburg this weekend.
But I know if you're standing on Maurice Heights looking, I haven't been, admittedly, but looking off the pictures, you can still see the field, but there's whole houses there now. It's kind of like standing on the Seminary Ridge with the Lutheran Seminary and looking towards the Cemetery Hill, and it's all neighborhoods. That's what it looks like in the pictures. So it's too bad.
Yeah. Ryan said Shiloh plus Beauregard equals me ranting about bad rebel staff work. Beauregard at Shiloh is hilarious because he's staying back and Johnson is forward, and Beauregard's got no idea what's going on. And the second day when the Union launched that attack, it was Beauregard's staff that said to Beauregard something like, and I'm paraphrasing here, "Sir, are we not like a lump of sugar that is like kind of drenched with water, but we have yet to dissolve? I think maybe we need to make a break before we dissolve." And Beauregard's like, "Yeah, you're right, we do." And that's why he left, because his staff was like, "We're fucked. We can't do this." Jen, Fredericksburg made me very sad. You're standing at Mary's Heights, you're staring at people's backyards. Yeah, it's really sad that like some of this has been lost, and hopefully more of it is preserved in the future. You look at somewhere like Franklin, where I think it's only like 25% of the battlefield is preserved, or maybe that's Stones River. I can't remember. I get the two mixed up.
Yeah. But the thing about it, there's no way you can really have a battlefield look the same again, because you can't have the animals in there eating the underbrush. People aren't going to be tearing down trees for wood and stuff like that. I mean, for the most part, the big battlefields, Antietam, Gettysburg, those places do a pretty good job of it. But it would cost, one of my Ranger friends was telling me that when they redid the triangular field, they burned a lot of the stuff down. Yeah. It costs a fortune to do that. A fortune.
It does.
And then 2 years later, it all goes back. Mm-hmm. So it's great for a short period of time.
That's what we learned in Dr. Jen Murray's lecture on the Chattanooga Chickamauga Roundtable, was that the government will give funds, but then they don't have the funds to maintain it. And that's the problem.
So it's like, why bother? I mean,
I know it's like, well, great, you've got that money, but you've got to be able to maintain how it looks. And I think it's a different experience. So I would love to be in Gettysburg sometime for the anniversary to experience the heat that the soldiers experienced. But at the same time, I love to be there in the winter too, when there's no foliage out on the trees and all that, just to have the clearer sight lines. And that's what Chickamauga was like for me, because when I went the first time, Easter weekend, which is when I usually go, was in March. So there's not as much foliage out on the trees. So I had clearer lines of sight. When I went in the spring, it was more grown over. So I think I got a better understanding of did you spill something?
I'm spilling water. Mark, did you tell me that Sharpshooters is closed? Are you serious? Oh my God. Wow, that's too bad. So I was there. I've been there Sharpshooters a million times. And the problem what's great about Sharpshooters is in the men's room, my friend Sean he has a knife. Mm-hmm. This is as close as it matter now. He carved Darren Sucks into the wall. I made it my Facebook profile picture for a little while, but it's still there. And this is probably 6 years ago. It's called the Livery, but it's still open though, right? I know the Sharpshooters, the name changed, but the place is still physically open though, right? I know they changed the name, but I always call it sharpshooters, but I know it's delivery now. Yeah, I spilled my fucking water. God.
Story of your life.
No, I know that's what happens, but the place is pretty cool though. It's definitely a pretty cool place to to do that.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I'm looking forward to being able again to travel. Like I said, probably September will be when I'm traveling again. Judging by the way,
Yeah,
things are
you
going
won't
around
be
here.
seeing the old USA for a while,
No,
unfortunately.
nope. It'll be a year on February 24th that I was last crossing the border.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
too bad.
but I was somebody who went every 5 or 6 weeks.
You were at that Sherman's party a year ago, right?
Yep, year ago
Was it the
last
last
weekend.
time?
No, that was my last road trip to Ohio
Okay.
was that weekend. And then a friend and I went over on February 24th to go to this winery that we like to go to. And that was the last time. And I actually made plans with the owners of the winery to go there. And I was going to do an episode of Rail Splitter from there.
Yeah.
Memorial Day weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Andrew, you're right. Going to the battlefields when the battle took place is the best because you get a perspective of what the soldiers did.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you though, Gettysburg in the fall is really, really cool because a lot of the bugs are gone, the ticks, a lot of the sticky things in those woods. You can walk and you can go to places that you normally wouldn't go. So you can see between the Florida Monument and with the battle line of the Confederates, you can see their breastworks. The breastworks there are the best in the battlefield, and no one can see them in the summertime because it's all built over.
Yeah, Mark mentions, Gettysburg in the fall or winter, fall or early spring is great. Makes seeing things so much easier. Yeah, I think any time is a great time to go to a battlefield. Like Andrea and like the three of us all said, going at the anniversary gives you an idea of what it was like for them, probably from a climate perspective, but also from a sightline perspective too. But if you go in like another time of year when the leaves aren't out on the trees, you're going to have even better sightline, be able to see things like you mentioned, the breastworks and all that. So it's really like, I think it's good to experience them any time of year. I don't think there's a best possible time because both have their benefits.
I mean, it's not like when I was there in November a couple of years ago, it was very cold, but it was pretty. You could see a lot of different stuff. As long as you go, it doesn't matter. But
yeah,
I haven't seen Gettysburg in the snow. Someday I'll see that in the snow.
I have seen it in the snow because I went right after the snowstorm that they had a couple of years ago, and everybody was freaking out about it. So there was still a little bit of snow left. That was when I hung out with Heckman at Blue and Gray for a while.
Mm-hmm.
That trip, and when I met Jeff Shara.
Oh, okay. I saw that picture.
Yeah,
I know I've seen the Heckman picture.
Yeah. No, I met Jeff Shara. He was signing books at, I went and looked ahead to see what events they were having that weekend. And it turned out Jeff Shara was going to be there one of the days because it was Remembrance Weekend. So I took all my books that I had and while I had a couple of them in the series at the time, and then I bought the other two from the bookstore there, and he signed them for me, and I got to talk to him for a little bit, and he was a really, really nice, down to earth guy, like really, really cool guy.
Definitely.
So it was nice to meet him.
The rage right now is that Robert E. Lee book, Mary. Everyone's talking about the Robert E. Lee book.
Yep.
I started reading that this morning.
You're welcome.
Yeah, good enabling on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's the book. It's the latest, Lost Cause book, but it's really, really good.
I am telling everybody. So I started telling people who are into the Civil War to read it. I'm now starting to recommend it to Canadians as well to help them understand kind of the culture that exists down there. And the thing for me is like I related so much to the stuff that happened in the author's childhood. I was raised much the same way. And I too had a kind of like, I guess you would call it a come to Jesus moment about how I had been raised. And I was like, oh shit, this was not good stuff that I was raised on. And I thought it was okay to read the stories of the Song of the South and all that. And then when I, started reading more about them, it was like, oh my God, what the hell?
John, the Robert E. Lee book is that Robert E. Lee and Me that just came out. I don't know if it just came out, but it seems to be making the rounds right now. But it's basically about a guy. It's very similar to Confederates in the Attic in a way, where a guy, he grew up in the South, loving Robert E. Lee. He was God. I think he said he was born on July 3rd, and ever since then, he associated that day with Lee, and then it's his realizing that a lot of the stuff that he thought was true is a myth, and now he's very much against the lost cause. And he gave a speech about it on YouTube a couple of years ago, basically saying that the war, was about slavery. Everything you think about Robert E. Lee is wrong, and
Yeah.
it pissed a lot of people off and went really viral. So he wrote a book about it, and so that just came out now. So I would definitely read it. It's really debunking all the Lost Cause stuff, and it's a
Yep,
really
it's-
good read because it's the whole book is his come to Jesus moment of like,
Yep.
unlike a lot of people we know in history,
Mhm.
he's admitted I was wrong. I
Yeah.
was wrong, and here's what I was wrong about. And he really, it's like him dumping his soul about everything,
Yeah. And I think he's doing it in the hopes that other people will realize it too. It's just so, it's
Mhm.
so well written. It's so like hearing him, and he narrates the audiobook, which I'm listening to, hearing him admit to this stuff, but also just like how I related to it, even as a Canadian, I related to it and how I had been raised on some of these, myths as well, which is, I know people have a tough time. How can a Canadian be raised that way? I was.
Well, I mean, but I mean, it's interesting because he talks about how he fought to keep the Confederates because they got a bunch of money at West Point to build a memorial for
Yes.
everyone who died from 1812 on, and they wanted to put Confederates in there, and he fought against it. Initially, they said no, we're going to do it, and they finally changed their tune. But it talks about that. Yes, Song of the South. That movie, Song of the South. Holy moly!
Yeah, I knew those songs. I knew those stories when I was 3 years old. And the author actually mentions that like he knew the lyrics to Dixie before he knew the lyrics to like, I think it was the Star Spangled Banner. That's like me in O Canada. Like my grandma would sing Dixie all the time. I had no idea. I'm 3, 4 years old. Like I don't know what any of this stuff means. And he mentions like even today he can't help but, kind of start humming along to Dixie. And it's really interesting how it just became so ingrained in him, this kind of this gentleman type of person. Robert E. Lee is a gentleman. He goes to Washington Lee University as well, and it's really interesting to hear his side of things. And I think if I'm relating to it, as a Canadian, if I'm relating to some of this, how many Americans are going to be able to relate to it? And maybe we can start, this is part of kind of this, I guess, sort of healing process that the country's going through.
What's so funny is, so I bought that book yesterday, 2 days ago, and I got it yesterday in the mail. And so I went on to Amazon. I just wanted to read the reviews, which I tend to do from time to time, just out of curiosity. And you can tell it'll say, great book, great book, great book. Then you read the 1-star reviews. This book is a bunch of propaganda, a bunch of blah, 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 and it'll be like signed, Jethro, Louisiana. It's like all the negative ones are from deep Southern people, which is a story in itself. I mean,
it is.
And those the Amazon comments prove his premise right there. It really, does.
They do. Yeah. I think it's a scary for people to read it. Just because like it's kind of like he's had this reckoning, and that's why he's telling the story and he's putting himself out there. And after he gave this lecture a few years ago, like he had death threats and everything else, which is, it's sad, like that you give this lecture on what is the truth, and people threaten to kill you over it, because he's a Southerner.
Yeah. Well, Allie, I read the reviews on this one specifically just because I was curious about. I was just because this is such an inflammatory subject.
Sorry.
The ghost of Darren floating around there.
Yeah.
But
apparently.
But it was but I tend to read them anyway just to see what people think about them because for some reason like not enough maps always comes up in every Civil War book as a negative. But I just wanted to read what they had to say about it. But it was But it was interesting seeing that. But yeah, I mean, he's gonna do well with this one. He's gonna make a lot of money off this book. So,
yeah. Allie B said there's a bit about his wife going into Lee Chapel because she's like, what is this? Yeah, like because she's seeing this altar where they literally worship Robert E. Lee. And I do have one person who's in my family that I'm going to be giving it to them for their birthday, and I'm going to say, you need to read this because it's going to hopefully help sway your opinion on a couple things.
Well, I mean, people, I know who you're talking about, but people at that age, I mean, that was their culture. That's how they were raised. You want to talk about that song of the South culture. That's what that's what they were wrote.
But the scary thing is I was read those stories by one of the people who raised me, and it's like I believed for years that this was how it was, and then I start reading on my own, and I'm realizing it's not. And then I go on Splash Mountain at Disney when I'm 15 years old with one of my family members. And they're like, do you remember when grandma read you these stories? And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, this is so racist. I was so uncomfortable on that
If you
ride.
if you want a cringeworthy experience, you could probably go on YouTube and find it. Rewatch some of the Song of the South. It's just
Oh, I know.
about a month or so, maybe a month or so ago, I threw it on. I was just curious because people were talking about it. And I was like, holy moly, it's Jim's right. They can never show that again here. I mean, that's just unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
not like openly like it makes everyone look like living in this harmony world.
Yeah, it's
know?
like, but it's like the author too is starting to change the language of the Civil War, which is awesome to see. Like he's saying, we shouldn't be calling it the Union Army. This is the Federal Army. This is the U.S. Army. No more no more
I
Union.
mean,
And then,
it shows these slave families like this how
yep,
wonderful life is, and this is the greatest thing in the world, and it's just such a bunch of and yeah, Splash Mountain. They got to change that song.
oh my God, that was like, talk about like, yeah. And I think Disney's finally taking out Splash Mountain. Yeah, Mike, that was I went on that ride when it was still Splash Mountain Song of the South because one of my parents was like, you used to get these stories read to you. Let's go on the ride. And I'm like on there and I'm uncomfortable the entire time because it's at the time I'm having this reckoning about some of the shit I was raised on. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so cringy and bad.
Mark, have a great rest of the day. Going to town. I'm very envious. Trust me.
Yeah, me too.
The Seminary Ridge Museum is awesome. I love that.
Oh, I love it there.
We'll see Wednesday.
I love going to up in the cupola. That's one of my favorite spots. There's a couple comments. Andrew said Shara told me that Sherman was his favorite person to write. That made me happy because he was my favorite person to read. I told him the same thing. He writes Sherman so well, and he wrote Claiborne very well too. Claiborne was the other one he wrote really well.
But but things like Song of the South, I mean, it brings up David's point. It does bring up discussion, so people talk about it. So it's a good thing to talk about it.
Yeah, Scott said, Gone with the Wind. Yeah, that was another movie that, like, there's somebody in my family that's their favorite movie, and that's what they based the whole Civil War on. And I'm like, no.
A lot of people do.
Yep.
They look at the South as this romantic underdog place and fighting for their lifestyle, and that's just the mentality of how history has taught it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it's not, and even if it doesn't sway somebody's beliefs, if it makes them think a little bit more about what their beliefs are, that's what matters. And I'm glad he's telling this story as well.
It's just interesting. I wasn't aware that Disney was taking that down. I suppose I probably heard about it somewhere.
Yeah, but no, they did.
Last time I was there, they absolutely still had it.
Yeah. Oh no, recently they're still not drinking.
No, but it's just an interesting world we live in, I guess. But that's part of the deal. But it's yeah. I guess next time maybe there'll be something different. I've been to Disney in years, so it's been.
I got to get back there. Yeah, it's been about 5 years for me. It's one of my favorite places to go. I love Magic Kingdom. I love it.
The cupola tour Jen is mentioning too is really, really cool. It's a little pricey because most of Gettysburg is cheap, but I think it was like $30 for that.
Yeah, but to me, it's worth it to go up there. And to like, you have to remember that some of that money is going towards the preservation. Like if you have people,
I'm not complaining. I'm not saying I'm not going poor about they're cheap. I'm just saying that. I think a lot of people who probably haven't gone there do so because they think, holy crap, this is expensive. Especially if you're taking the whole family, you could drop $200 in it very easily. And and most people, like kids, don't give a crap about it. They don't. I mean, there's a lot of places you can go look at the vista of Gettysburg without having to pay that much. So I can see why people don't do it. But it's if you're a Civil War nerd like the rest of us here, if you haven't been to Cupola, you got to do it.
I want to go again next time I'm back. It is just such a cool place, and that's where they have a lot of stuff about Reynolds, and they have that handkerchief that Kate.
It's definitely worth the money to do. So definitely do it. I'm not saying don't do this money, but I can see why people bitch about it though.
Yeah, I never bitch about the price of things, especially in museums, because as somebody who is trained in the field as a conservator, I know the work that has to go into the preservation and just what if you have people walking in a space that is historical, it's wear and tear on that space, and you have to be able to like maintain that through conservation efforts. The other thing too that you have to consider is the environment in the museum. It has to be kept at a certain temperature so that these objects are preserved for future generations. So that's why I don't like, not like, why is it so expensive to get in here? It's like, well, there's a lot of background stuff that people don't see that happens that is helping to preserve, that side of things. I didn't fully understand it until I, got my diploma in being a museum conservator.
It's a bummer it's not the original cupola, admittedly. That's
it
kind
is.
Of a
well,
downer.
It got struck by lightning, though. It got struck by lightning.
But they rebuilt almost exactly the same. So you still get the same vista that John Buford, those guys are up there. So, I've been paid to go to reenactment, Andrea. So I know those works. But I was going to go to the one. I was going to go to the 150th, and we just never went. So we were supposed to go, and I had tickets, I had hotel, the whole deal. If something happened, we just never went. I don't know what the hell happened. Probably.
I was supposed to go to Atlanta when they reopened the Cyclorama, and I don't know why I didn't get down there for that.
Although there are definitely a lot of trips that I was planning on doing that just never happened for some. And
welcome to my 2020. I canceled how many trips?
Well, but that was a little different, though. I mean, I have no idea why I didn't go. Whatever.
Yeah, it's well, hopefully, end of 2021, I can finally make the trip across the border and start to travel again. And
it'll be sometime in the fall, the earliest, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Well, I agree. Harper's Ferry is awesome.
Yeah, I've never been there before. Hey, David, take care. See you later.
Yeah, definitely. Have a good weekend. Stay. Yeah, definitely. We're getting ready to wind down here pretty soon anyway. But but it's good. But going back to the episode real quick, it was fun. It was a fun little lighthearted episode. Hopefully people like it. Hopefully people kick out of it. And,
no, definitely. No, I really enjoyed it. As always, I enjoy hopping on doing these Facebook Lives with you. Last 6 months has been amazing. Doing this
that podcast. Is amazing. 26 episodes.
26 for half a year. Yep.
Yeah, I'm aware. I'm aware of the math.
I did math correctly.
No, you did that time, but that doesn't seem that long. We joke about how, but that's God seems like yesterday we did that.
August 22nd, we dropped our first episode.
Yep, we got going pretty quick, and we haven't missed a week yet. So that's pretty cool.
We haven't. No, it's but it's not like doing this is not work. Like I enjoy it. It's giving me like a structure and routine at a time when there is not as much structure and routine because you can't. Did Ryan say no accusation of fucker? Well, believe me, he hears it enough offline.
She's called me that like a bunch of times already today.
Yeah, and I said it like 50,000 times in the podcast. Mike, don't come till February. You have to be able to drink.
Until February.
Yeah, it's like bars and restaurants are reopening here on the 19th, and I got asked by a couple of friends if I wanted to go out after that, and I'm like, not till March 1st. I can't. I'm too tempted. It's bad enough when I open my fridge door, I've got 6 beers staring back at me. And every time I open my one cupboard, there's like a bottle of bourbon staring at me.
I've got a fridge full of Trillium, Treehouse, and Knockabout. Must have 100 cans there just staring at me now. I think I heard him laughing at me yesterday, by the way.
Yeah.
I was watching the BC game last night. I think I heard him laughing at me.
I almost broke down last night and had a beer.
You'll break. You will break.
Thanks for your fucking
support.
You will. Good.
I'll support you with that. Let's not fool ourselves where we know this is going.
Yeah. It's not going. I'm not going to break.
The only question is before or after 9 a.m. when it breaks. I'm having just one.
Yep. Okay. We'll see how much you annoy me between now and then.
Ooh. I'm probably not drinking now.
Nope. I know that's
always an action pack. Always an action packed Saturday morning lately. So it's always fun.
Oh, thanks for that. Andrea said, and we have the Rona to thank for a lot of this. So many of these live events, presentations wouldn't have happened had people not been forced to stay at home. That's very true. That's the one thing that I hope continues post-COVID is that stuff like this keeps happening because the Civil War has been able to be brought to an audience that they never would have brought it to before. Would I have been able to join the Chickamauga Roundtable without Rona? Probably not. And I mean, honestly, like 2020 did not start off very good for me, as it didn't for many people, but 2020 ended as probably what I will admit has been one of the best years of my life because I changed a lot. Being in lockdown definitely had me thinking about a lot of different stuff about my life, and I'm going to move forward a lot differently with my life. And I've come to know a lot of great people. Like, you know, I met you in the lockdown. I met Andrea. I met, you know, Allie B, Allie K, like all these people, like Ryan, all these people that are hopping on here with us. So I'm coming out of Rona with a more positive outlook on life. And
Yeah.
I admittedly, I have learned more about the Civil War too. You know,
Well, that's what's cool about it is it really forced, like for me, it forced people or forced me to basically read more, study more, and just do more stuff. So if you can't go out and visit battlefields or visit stuff, you can at least watch the stuff online. I remember watching Gettysburg National Battlefield. They were doing those coffee with a ranger things, and that was like the first. I'm like, well, at least I can do this. And a lot of these places did a lot more virtual stuff. The Zoom thing started, which is probably that'll last forever. The Zoom thing's never going away,
I think we've changed the face of how people are going to learn. And I know, like, you know, this has been, do I want to hang out with people in real life? Hell yeah, I do. I miss that. I'm extroverted. I crave social time. And this is one way I get it. You know, this is actually very therapeutic for me to be able to hop on here and do this every Saturday morning. Not just hanging out with you, but everybody else as well. Ben, I mean, Mary's taught me the versatility of the word fucker. Thank you.
Yeah, she's good at that.
Ryan, so before we end, I want to remind everyone you can watch some real sport tomorrow. Ireland invites France to Dublin tomorrow to show them some tough Valentine's Day love at Lansdowne Road and the beautiful adult sport of rugby. Ryan, my parents are rugby fans, but they hate football and I don't understand it. Maybe it's because my dad's British. I don't know.
Well, I'm mostly British. Rugby's cool though. I like rugby. I mean, I could watch it. I mean, I don't know if I could like watch a whole game or like get into it like I could watch a football game. But you know what though? If rugby was the culture here, I'd be like everything else. It's just one of those sports that never took off here.
Yeah,
soccer too.
No, lacrosse is our national sport, not hockey.
Is it?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep, pretty sure.
Really? I don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't like that's like dog sled like Iditarod shit up there, in Canada.
Dog sledding in the Yucatan Peninsula.
The Yucatan, yeah.
That was great. The day you said that, Jim, I could use a trip to the Bang Barn.
Wow.
The Bang Barn is another offshoot of the Civil War Breakfast Club that I didn't expect. Same with Legos and all that.
We've created a whole different lexicon for the Civil War. That's one thing we definitely did.
Created a little Breakfast Club community here, you know.
Bang Barn, jeez. A throwaway line in the episode about sickles and key and.
Yeah, I still remember when you said that.
He's going to the Bang Barn. Next thing you know, it's a fucking Bang Barn.
Yeah, exactly. Ryan, Darren, try hurling instead. That's my county's sport. Cross between hockey and fight scenes from Braveheart. That's amazing. Probably without protection too. Probably no.
That's
padding.
Amazing thing about it is those sports. They just kill each other. How the hell you can do that? But you know something? Why you can never do those here? Like is the athletes here are paid so much. Can you imagine a Tom Brady or a LeBron James or one of these guys playing this much money and then being literally broken in half the next day? That it's a lot of protecting the guys too. I mean, hockey isn't even hockey anymore. Watching some of that Bruin game the other day, and
that
it's
fight
amazing.
They got into. The fight.
Well, but it's so very rare seeing fights now.
It was. I was shocked.
You know, it's definitely gone more towards a speed game, and they're taking that out of the game, which I get, but it's not.
The Canadian was good last night, Richie, on the Bruins.
Yeah,
he scored a goal. He's like from an hour and a half from me.
Yeah, chubby little guy, that guy.
Yeah,
Richie,
he's a good player. He's really good.
Bad.
They were comparing him. Oh, who were they? I was on some Bruins page today because I'm now suddenly into hockey, which I never was before. But I enjoy watching it. I find it very relaxing to sit there and watch it. Yeah. Wayne said, one of my British ancestors on his deathbed said, at least I didn't die in an Irish hovel or in a swamp in the lowlands. And he completely didn't mention the goddamn manor his parents had owned in England. Makes me think we had good reason for leaving.
Yeah.
Bang Barn has taken on a life of its own. It certainly has. We've got a lot of inside jokes on here.
No, we definitely have. Sure. We definitely have.
Some of you guys have been on here for every single one.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I think Ryan is definitely a veteran. Allie B, Allie K.
I have.
So have I.
Oh.
I think when we logged, that when we did our first live, we were happy with the 10 people we got. We were like,
Yeah, that's
oh, we
cool.
got 10 people.
Jay Price was on back in the day. Remember
Yep.
that? Yeah. Well, Allie, if the Flyers are if no Flyer games, you should definitely check out some college hockey, right?
Yeah, I would love to watch more college hockey, but they don't air it up here very much.
One of my school's best players of all time is from Philadelphia. A guy named Johnny Gaudreau plays the Flames now.
Nice.
So pretty cool. He's a Philly guy.
There's a few people from here. There's a guy who was involved in the Ryan O'Reilly plays for the St. Louis Blues, and he was with them when they won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I don't like that one. I don't like that either at all.
Yeah, I don't think you like anything Canadian.
No, that's not true. I just that Bruins should have won that one. Pissed me off still. So it's the one that they let get away. It's stupid to Rask, but you guys, Philly's a big basketball. You got the 5 schools that all play basketball.
Jonathan said he's so happy to find you guys. Well, we're very happy to have you and everybody else on here, and everybody who jumps on the round table with us too. We really appreciate you guys taking your time. Taking the time on Saturday morning.
That is going to be the thing that I take away from from this pandemic is all this stuff. It's just this all started going back to Twitter with old Ed Lowe's Civil War Facebook.
Yeah, that's how we met. That's how we met.
Was in his group, and then from there, and then everything kind of goes from there. But it is interesting though how much people have learned. I think this is going to make people. It should make people smarter. I hope people took advantage of all this stuff to be able to just study and learn. But it's really what I think COVID did is whatever you were, it enhanced it. If you read more, you read. If you worked out more. If you drank more, you drank a ton. Whatever that, or seriously, I think it just enhanced whatever you were. So you want to find out what people really are like. Put them in a pandemic, and that definitely does.
No, I've grown to. I used to hate working out. I've done it for years. I used to hate working out prior to COVID. I've grown in the last few months to love it. I love my routine of coming home at night and doing a workout. Yes, I started drinking more. I mean, I'm not right now, but yeah, like I think this has been really an important thing that's happened. And like our website, like this community is really, really important to me, as I know it is to you. And our website as well is an awesome place. Like the forum, the people posting on there. We've had one guy say that he appreciates an environment where he doesn't feel judged for his opinion, and that's really telling about what the Civil War community once was somewhere like if you went and felt judged, as I've learned, liking Howard, having him as my favorite general, I've had to come to his defense many times. I never back down off of my opinion of him. You think that the 11th Corps broke first, that's your opinion. That's fine. My opinion is that the First Corps broke first. But at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter. For God's sakes, these guys have been gone for so long now. But it's fun. It's fun to debate. It's fun to debate what Smith's battery was. It's fun to debate, where they were. That's what's cool about it. Because you know what, it makes you think. It makes you learn. And the more you read, and the more you learn, the more you study, and the more you talk in groups like this and these other groups, just of like-minded people talking. I mean, I've learned a shit ton through all this. Oh, me too. Me too. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from you. Like you are my go-to Civil War person. But I've met other people too that have, just different levels of knowledge and just different areas of the Civil War. Like you have somebody like Ryan who is into the early part of the Civil War. That's rare to meet somebody that is that. And then you have somebody like Allie B who's relatively new, who reads a ton of books, which is awesome as well. And just all these people like Andrea too, who knows her shit about the Civil War. Like it's really awesome how we can all come together, talk about it, but we make it fun. And, no opinion is wrong. That's the thing. Like, yes, do I now say he's Claiborne of the East? Absolutely. Doesn't mean I'm right.
Well, saying the Flyers are a competent program is an opinion that's wrong, right?
Ryan, we've all come to terms with Mayor liking Howard. It's brought us all together. Yeah, hey.
Yeah, that Howard thing. Yeah.
I will never back off of him. He is, I'll say it right here, he is my favorite historical person. There's just something about him that I admire so much. It's really like, that's been a huge change for me. I went from being like so Sherman and Lincoln to like, oh, was my boy,
Yeah, I mean, it's And it's because you study more and you research more, that
Yeah.
it gave the opportunity to study more. And that's the whole thing, you know?
Yeah, Jay Price, me too, hashtag Claiborne of the East. Yep. That's just my way of interpreting stuff, that I see Claiborne as being a person who, when he made a mistake, he learned from it and he kept getting better and better and better. Whereas Jackson gets so wrapped up in the lost cause myth, which is very interesting to study about him. But he made as many mistakes as Sherman, you know, but we never hear about Kernstown. We never hear about him getting stuck in a tree, you know.
Well, I know that we'll be doing a podcast on Kernstown coming up.
Yeah, we will be, for sure.
That'll be a good one to study.
Yeah, it'll be, and it's one I haven't studied as much. And that's the nice thing, is to look at these smaller battles and, you know, just be able to learn about them, because they're all factoring into how the Civil War plays out. And when you look at, I found looking at some of the earlier battles is really making stuff make sense in later battles, to see how this has paved the way for Grant and Sherman to come through at the end, and Sheridan too. But there's these early stars like Rosecrans that don't get the credit, and they need the voice in history as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we can kind of wind down. It's getting late, so that's that time of day.
Andrea wonders if I would tap that one arm wonder. Actually, no, that's not how I feel. It's weird. It's not how I feel at all about Howard. It's one of those, it's not like I don't really have a crush on him. He's been dead
100 fucking years.
I mean, well, I joke around about it, but admittedly, I love him as a human for his, like, and I'm not hardcore religious like he was, but I love how he stood by his Christian beliefs when he was really shot down for it at times. And so it's taught me to always stand by what I believe and not let others shoot me down or change my opinion as well. And just the fact that he was like a good all-around person, you know. Yeah, he's got, there is the stuff too, like many of the men, like he didn't treat natives the greatest. He really didn't. And that's like a stain on his record. But when you're looking at Howard, you have to look at the good, bad, and the ugly. But then he's got Howard University. He's very accepting of people, you know, and he's not, I don't know, he didn't have the same agenda as Grant and Sherman. I did just friend zone Howard. Also, admittedly, I like his wife too. She was something to put up with him, because I think he could be kind of a whiny bitch at times.
Definitely. Anyway, so I guess some things we have coming up here we could talk about before we sign off. So we obviously have the round table on Wednesday. So we'll have that. Yep. We'll get to talk about this again. We can hopefully, Andrea, you can join us this time. You have no excuse to miss it this time. So we'll make it very clear it's Wednesday, so don't screw that day
Wednesday
up.
From 6 to 7.
You can talk all about Howard and Mary. You can talk all you want. Valentine's Day love special. So, I think that's good. So yep. Next week we're going back into the world of battles. We're going to go back into Henry and Donelson. Ready for Hyman a little bit. Throw there. Little sidebar into that, and then we'll talk about that. So we will do that, and then we will do the live on Wednesday. And we'll do the roundtable on Wednesday, the live on Saturday. So that'll be an action-packed, busy week. And a lot of people have school vacation week this week. Of course, I don't, because I don't teach. I do have Monday off. I'm very excited about, so we'll be able to work on that and get this thing recorded, and look forward to the next time. So
great to see you too, Wayne and LAK.
Yeah, everybody jumping. Thanks for jumping on.
Feel better, Andrea. Yeah, LAB, we'll see you Wednesday. And Ryan, just to answer your question, you wondered about a battle campaign section on the website. I'll see if I can make that work. Maybe for books, battle campaign section for specifically those books. So I'll see if I can somehow probably incorporate that into the forum. I think we do have a book enabling thing on there, but maybe I can do something with battles and campaign books too.
We'll definitely have some fun. So anyway, I guess we can jump off and enjoy our Saturdays. Hopefully everybody stays safe with the weather. I didn't realize the weather was going to be such a dumpster fire all weekend. I thought it was going to be halfway decent, but apparently not. So up here in Mass, I don't think it's going to be too bad. So hopefully I can find time to go sneak a cigar on the deck, stay outside in the snow this week, since we won't be doing any drinking, unfortunately. Stupid February thing. But anyway, we'll have fun with that. So any final words from you up there in the Great White North?
Nope, just
Queen of Kincardine.
Everybody have a great day, and
the woman from foreign lands. And anyway, thanks for jumping on again. Always had a great time with this, so we will look forward to talking to you next time.
Thank you, everybody, Mary, and have a great day.
As usual, the pleasure was all yours.
Yep, probably was this time.
God. All right, guys, we'll talk to you guys soon.
Yep, see you later, guys.
All right, peace out, guys.
Bye.